Okay, there. All right, I must have hit that by accident. All right, hello everybody. I am so glad you are here. We have people, as we just tested, from all over the world. And what a time to be here in the so-called self-isolation, as some of us are still doing. This is amazing. So my name is Lorelle Van Fossen. I'm known in all spaces Rel. And I'm with Educators in VR with my partner here, Daniel DYBOVSKY-BRYANT, and we're co-founders of Educators in VR. I'm kind of just stunned here for a moment because this, honestly, I want to do the, oops, I don't want the thing back again. I'm trying to do the buttons. This is how I feel. And it's weird being in a virtual space where I have to hit a button to have a physical response when I'm used to just moving around and using my head and controlling that experience, much easier. So forgive the lack of movement because I'm used to it. I will do what I can. Anyway, we are here to celebrate education and training, and who better than, let me brag, Educators in VR. So Educators in VR is a cross-platform community, and we're the connective tissue between academia and the VR industry. Educators in VR is a global community of educators who provides access to diverse resources and training to assist with that vital integration of virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality in the classroom, and in person and online. How many of you are fans or members of Educators in VR? Give me some. I wish there was physical emojis. I missed the alt space stuff. So give me some emojis in the text window and chat if you're a fan and you're familiar with Educators in VR. Woo! I love that. I see Ann out there and Lida. I see all of our great fans and friends. Fantastic. Oh, I so love it. So Educators in VR offers training, consulting, and production support to academia and corporate institutions to help them take the next step into virtual and into VR, which you all are doing right now. So I love that. Okay, how many now know this thing so well? Oh my God. This thing, it is amazing how something so small, so invisible, has changed the entire planet so fast. I mean, I know for some of you this feels like it's gone on forever. For others, we're sitting back and we're going, it's really only been just a few weeks. Yes, indeed. There's some tears there. So this brings up this question. I mean, the statement and this belief and thing that COVID-16, the coronavirus, combined with social media, we cannot take that out of the equation. It changed the world of business and communication. Will it change forever? I don't know, but time will tell. But virtual communication and VR is becoming the new normal, and the world is adapting quicker than I can. For those of you who are seriously, for those of us who are in the virtual and immersive technology industry, our inboxes are flooded, absolutely flooded. We are busier than ever. While the rest of the world's taking a break, they're catching up on their knitting and all their housework and cleaning, putting their lives and businesses on hold. Those of us in the immersive technologies are like head spinning. I can do the whole head spin, can't I? No, I can't. All right. So, what the future looks like, I don't know. But everyone in this room, we've seen the future. We've seen it already. We've been there. We have that virtual t-shirt and we wear it proudly. Yeah. Can I do nope, that's the wave. This is the one. Yeah. We wear it because we know what it looks like. We're just waiting for everyone else to catch up. And we know, for Educators in VR, we know that immersive technology works. We're proof. In February, we proved it with our 2020 Educators in VR International Summit. How many of you were there? I bet many of you were, because I recognize you, even your different avatars. In February, Educators in VR produced the International Summit, bringing together more than 170 academics from around the globe to present in over 150 events across 5 virtual platforms for 6 24-hour days, serving up over 6,000 event attendees in this free and open to the public event. It was supported by 75 volunteers who helped make this happen. We didn't set out to break any records, but we did, and we proved that not only could 100% virtual conference work, people were able to connect, share, learn, and thrive. They had a real life experience, life-changing experience in VR. So we've proved it's possible, and Laval Virtual World Conference is proving it right here, right now. So give them some applause, because you're all pioneers. We're all changing how this is working. I love it. Yeah. So we've proved it, and we're going to keep going. Estimates, we only have old estimates. So estimates from 2018 and 2019 predict this wide sweeping range of claims that the VR and AR industry, the immersive industry, will be worth anywhere from 24 billion to 108 billion US dollars by 2021. That's huge, because nobody knew. Research studying the impact of VR and training found a 40% reduction in training time. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And Intel has been estimating what's going on. Oh, did I hit a button? I hit a button. Anyway, you've all turned, your avatars are all now little funny characters. So now I really feel like I'm in alt space. All right. Anyway, the researchers that are studying the impact in Intel on VR training are finding a 300% ROI, 300% return on that investment. Yet we keep asking ourselves, why? Why does this work? Is it the wow factor? Is it the novelty? Is it the experiential, immersive learning? Here's my answer. This is what I tell my students and my clients. If you want to get someone's attention, you either need to show them something they've never seen before, or show them in a way they've never seen before. This is a truth. It's a truism. And VR shows people in a way they've never seen before. It's a new perspective, a fresh perspective, and it's working. It is changing the education and the workplace environment dramatically. We're seeing AR in commerce. We are seeing, you no longer do you have to imagine, well, again, measure. That's what we used to do. We used to measure everything. Honestly, we had, oh, the sound is back. Did we lose sound? Okay, I hope it's there. Okay, sorry. No, don't miss a minute of this. We are seeing shopping is completely revolutionized, because no longer do we have to measure the couches and figure out where something is going to go in. And even at one time, I actually built a cardboard layout. Uh-oh, we've got sound missing. Is that me? My mic's on.
No, we're gonna manage it. Go through your presentation.
Okay, I'm gonna go through. All right, so they're fixing it. So for those that do fixing, okay. All right, so please somebody type in that they're working on it, so I don't have to. Okay, so they're changing how how we shop, because you can now see it right there in AR. It's just amazing. We now have changes. We're seeing changes in the workplace. So soft skills like inventory and customer service are being revolutionized by companies like Walmart and others that are providing simulation training and experiences for their employees. We're seeing immersive technologies that are allowing businesses to train customers not only to use their products and services, but also changing expectations. Who buys a house or rents an apartment today without a 360 or some kind of immersive viewer experience? This is now the expectation. The real estate and hospitality market has permanently changed how this works. And so are the customers. They're changing things up. It's amazing. Educators in VR is partners with Virtual World Society. It's led by Tom Furness, the grandfather of VR. He helped the military develop simulation training in VR, developing the technology that goes into the headsets that we use today. Even he is amazed that the technology once designed to fly military airplanes is now being used to design those planes. From prototype to manufacturing shop floor, VR and AR devices are becoming partner devices, allowing people to interact with the immersive and the real at the same time with greater efficiency. From the huge corporate manufacturing to the personal, VR is changing therapy treatments and the elder care industry by providing behavioral modification, empathy training, therapies for fears, anxiety, mental health issues. Most profound and personal are the elder care therapies that are bringing back memories for those with dementia and Alzheimer's and providing escape for the homebound, something, okay, we all need right now. And as you've seen today, there are few industries not impacted by the potential of education and training with virtual technologies, and we're going to see that in just a few minutes. Jeremy Bilson of the Virtual Human Interaction Lab at Stanford stated that VR is best used for situations that are impossible, expensive, dangerous, and counterproductive. You're going to see that in our speakers today. I want to share with you that the winner of the 2019 VR Education Award of the Year proved him right. Vodafone and Make Real developed this award-winning virtual app that trains cell tower workers to work safely. Right now, these people are among the essential workers. And they're ensuring we stay connected with our work, with our loved ones. And what they do is very dangerous. They climb those towers in the middle of nowhere. They climb towers in all kinds of weather conditions on top of tall buildings and skyscrapers, risking their lives to help our cell phones stay working. Their Working at Height app provides training for their workers in a safe, supportive environment so they don't have to risk their lives during the training process. This is VR at its best. However, the bottleneck to adoption of virtual technologies in industry is education. We need future-ready educators preparing experienced global communicators and collaborators and digital citizens. We have to do better. We have to reach the young. We have to teach them that the world is bigger than their neighborhood. We have to have experiences that open up their eyes and opportunities to sit down. Imagine, I went this when I was growing up, right across the table from Sir David Attenborough in the Natural History Museum and explore the possibilities of history and nature. We need to connect with colleges and universities and vocational training to make sure that they have the tools they need. I'm sorry, engineering is boring in a textbook, but when you can create power plants and do prototyping and emergency scenarios and urban planning in a virtual environment, you change how they think. We need to stimulate the imagination. We need to open hearts and minds to the power of lifelong learning. It's coming. Right now, in California, they are developing a holodeck. Star Trek is coming alive, and it's amazing. You are pioneers, and we're all pioneers, and I want to introduce you to some of the pioneers that are going to be speaking today in our education and training track. Next up, we have Antonio FERNANDEZ PEREZ from SEABERY, and is responsible for this amazing welding training consultancy in Europe that is just revolutionizing this whole industry. I can't wait to see what he's going to be talking about. It's going to be beautiful. Our amazing friend David Whelan from Engage VR and the Immersive VR education. He created it with his wife Sandra in 2014 and has absolutely changed education environments and is breaking all the rules. And I'm so thrilled he's here. We have worked with him with the International Summit, with the Students in VR conference that's coming up May 7th and 8th, where students are not only producing this, they're presenting it. It's awesome. Where's that thing? Everybody, yeah! So we also have Christian MAI, and that's possible because of people like David, who is in Engage and AltSpace and other amazing platforms. So we thank him so much. Christian MAI is coming up here of Innoactive. He's going to be providing some great insights on the use of his Innoactive Creator that works with the automotive and the aviation industry. Woo, I love that. And then the last of our track speakers is Tim MASSEY from VICON. Boy, this is going to be worth the wait, folks. He's the project manager for VR and engineering for VICON Motion Systems, pushing the boundaries of immersive technology and free roaming location-based VR, and he is helping companies integrate VR into their environment free of restraint. God, I can't wait. That's going to be amazing. And then we have a panel that's going to rock your socks off without a doubt, that has some of the greatest leaders that are happening and changing the world here. We've got my buddy Daniel DYBOVSKY-BRYANT from Educators in VR, who's literally rocking the world like no one else when it comes to stirring up things in immersive education. We have Christophe MAI has spent over a decade as a digital strategist, changing things up, and with his award-winning VR studio called Somewhere Else. BODYSWAPS unlocks the human potential in the workplace through immersive technologies. I love it. We're surrounded by rule breakers. David Whelan, I've talked to you about him, but we also have our friend Julie Smithson, the co-founder of Metaverse, one of the world's leading XR consulting companies, and she's that connective tissue between startup studios and developers with corporate clients to explode in the XR world. So bring your best interrogative skills here, folks, because these people are at the heart of what is going on here in VR and AR and XR and virtual and everything. Seriously. So stay in your seats, get ready, and Antonio, the stage is yours. If I can figure out how to get off of it. So get your slides up there, my friend, and it's all yours. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorelle. Thank you so much.
Yeah, amazing.
Amazing introduction. Can you hear me all? Okay, excellent. Then let me please play the session. Okay. I think it's the first time for everyone. I think. Take ownership. Okay. Let me know when you can see it, please. I think you can, right? Okay, amazing. Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you, Lorelle, for the amazing introduction to this VR, AR for education and training. And thank you for the people behind those little avatars who are interested to hear our story today, and to all the Laval organization for this opportunity. They have been able to make this very quick move to make this virtual event happen. So congratulations for that. My name is Antonio FERNANDEZ from SEABERY, who is the leading company in augmented reality for skills training solutions. And I personally look after partnerships and welding training digitalization consulting services directly to government institutions and also industrial companies, right? What we are going to talk about today is about augmented reality for welding training, okay? And the goal of this presentation is to show you how this technology is revolutionizing completely the way to train welders all over the world in two key segments, which are the education and the industrial sectors. I would like to start with this image that shows very well the very popular concept of Industry 4.0, where we are applying augmented reality simulation to the manufacturing line of one of the most important automotive players in the world. And this is actually a real picture of a welder who is training on the real environment, on his real workplace, but he's using augmented reality to do that in such a way that he can optimize his skills in order to maximize the results of his job and reduce the quality issues. So this is the whole purpose and goal of this company, to evolve this technology in order to enhance all the different skills that our industry needs and will need. I believe now you will be able to see a picture of our team. Here we go. Perfect. So let me tell you a little bit more about this company. We we are leading the development of augmented reality solutions worldwide, training solutions worldwide since 10 years ago when we started. And we are based in Spain. Our company is about 90 employees, and they are all over the world. However, the headquarters are in Spain. And we are deploying this technology in more than 50 countries at the moment and growing. And I must say that I have had the luck, the pleasure to have met all of these 90 employees of the company. And definitely the main characteristic of this successful team is passion. Some of them are here today, so I send them my regards and thank you for coming. So we love what we do, and that's the reason why we are able to make this project succeed with this technology. So today we are going to speak about welding a lot, welding training, and the reason why welding is so important is, well, look around you. When you look around you, and not in this virtual world, but actually in the real world, you will find welding in the infrastructure that you are using daily, in buildings, bridges, cars, planes, trains. And then you can think that what would happen if one of those welds of the train are not well set. So it's not only about productivity, it is also about safety. For instance, this example here is where Grosjean's car crashes during a Formula One race because of a welding failure. So definitely welding is important, and qualified welders are highly needed in all the metal-related industry. So needed that, according to the American Welding Society, the industry will face a shortage of more than 400,000 welders in the USA only by 2024. So if we take those numbers at a global scale, we will be talking about a shortage of more than 3 million welders every single year. So that's more than 13 million welders by 2024. That's a lot of welders, okay? So the industry definitely needs help. And you will see this on the newspapers, you will see this on the TV. This issue is actually the reason why we started this project and we decided to help the industry. Now, I am not sure, and you probably don't know how welders get trained today, but in brief, they will spend a few hours of theoretical content, let's say, learning theory, and then they will spend plenty of hours, hundreds, thousands of hours, practicing on the real workshop, right? Which is a dangerous and expensive area, meaning that there is fumes, there is heat, there is dust. So you could imagine that if you ask a 16 years old guy or girl what they want to do when they grow up, very rarely they will tell you that they want to become welders. Normally they will tell you they want to become teachers, they want to become doctors, firemen, but rarely they will tell you they want to become welders. If you look at the picture on the left, you will see a young boy welding with an electrode that is generating very dangerous heat and also fumes, and he's suspending, well, different materials, carbon steel, stainless steel, whatever they're using. The first time that this guy sees this, he will be most likely scared. He will feel scared, and he will not be motivated to pursue this career. It will not be easy, at least. On the right side, however, we are using augmented reality simulation. These two girls are welding on augmented reality coupon with this technology, and they will feel motivated. They will feel curious to try, of course, and then they will want to improve, continue improving on their technique, because it's a very safe environment and it will be very appealing for them. And this motivation is what we actually need to create. In this picture here, you will see a welding competition in Thailand. And this group of teenagers are so excited about getting their hands on the welding torch. The reason for that is that they they don't like welding yet because they don't know welding yet, but they feel attracted to the technology. They want to play with it. They want to beat their friends. Somehow they will get exposed, and then is when they will decide if they want or not to pursue this career. So this way of training is called augmented training, and it's about digitalizing part of the practices using augmented reality in such a way that students will work in a simulation environment, which is what you see on the left side, the augmented lab, which is a completely safe environment, okay? It's free of fumes, free of heat, in order to master the welding skills and develop muscle memory, right? Then, once they develop this muscle memory, they will go to the real lab, which is with real equipment, and of course, that is dangerous and costly, but the time there is going to be very much reduced. This is actually the methodology that is being applied by educational and industrial leaders like Siemens or Volkswagen. And the combination of these three elements, an e-learning platform, you can see that on the top, an augmented reality simulator, and real welding, real workshop practices have demonstrated to be able to improve the efficiency of welding training, meaning that cost and time are reduced in the welding training, and the quality of these welders has increased. But it's not only the simulation what makes this technology attractive, it's also the use of gamification, as the system uses a score system, so that they will want to push them for improvement in a very autonomous way, and it will create a sense of healthy competition between the different students. So it will translate into motivation in order to keep those students keep improving. So for you to see how this technology works, you will see that the student is wearing a welding helmet, the black one. And this helmet has two cameras, which is the cameras that the system is going to use to read the augmented reality markers that you will find on the welding coupon and the welding torch, the blue and green and the black and white, converting them into virtual elements, but at the same time, using real objects like a real welding torch and interacting with the real environment that provide the student an extremely realistic experience. Next, this is a GIF, so hopefully you can see it play. So on the right, you will find at some point that there are two pictures. On the right one, there is like the real view of the welder. Those are the real objects that the student is looking at. And then on the left side, you can see what he's seeing through the helmet, the simulation, okay? Including those green help icons that are going to provide live assistance to the student while he's welding in order to improve his technique, okay? Here you can see another little GIF where you can see how he's looking at the workpiece. When he sees through the helmet, he's actually seeing, in this case, a carbon steel pipe to plate joint, right? And the actual visuals and sounds have been parametricized very carefully by us, by our team, taking real samples of welds in different materials, thicknesses, joints, shapes, etc., and virtualizing the output in the system to make sure that every single welding scenario is covered, right? So we are continuously improving the realism of simulation in order to increase the efficiency in the different industries that apply welding. Plus, the solution is integrated with a vertical learning management system that allows a full synchronization of different simulators and smartphones and computers with students and the teachers. So that gives the possibility to even customize welding training contents. This is just a little snapshot of this system, okay? But there is a full synchronization in order to make a turnkey solution. And then here, you can see, you can literally replay every single exercise at any time and get feedback from the system, allowing the student to have the autonomy and speed up on their training path, and also the instructor to have reports and statistics about their job. So can everyone hear me? I can see that someone has no sound.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So it is in the real workshop, let's say in the traditional way to train welders, it is not possible to see what is going on behind the curtain. We cannot see, the teacher wouldn't be able to see the story of a weld. They can see only the end of the story. But with this, the teacher can see the whole story, and even the student, of course, they can replay, they can learn from mistakes, okay? And this is the big educational concept behind this. And actually those three learning concepts are the following ones. The first one is continuous improvement. The system provides live feedback for the trainee to understand if they are doing something wrong or right, allowing them to analyze and improve their skills as they go. Okay, so they're going to be autonomous. They will be able to weld in augmented reality, get the feedback, and correct their technique, and so on. So that is going to give a continuous improvement effect. The second one is muscle memory. When you do a movement more than 100, 200 times in the right way, your muscle is going to remember it, and you will be able to do it without actively thinking on it. Just like a baby learns how to walk, right? So in the simulation environment, repetition is only a button away. So it's very easy and very fast to do exercises, to practice. In 1 hour, you can do 100 exercises, and in the real workshop, you wouldn't be able to do more than 5, right? So this gives a very good capability to develop muscle memory very fast. And then the third one is the concept of gamifications. Students will feel challenged to improve their marks, to beat their colleagues, to self-improvement, and that will motivate those students to develop as fast as possible, right? So this technology applies to the full career of a welder, not only beginners. We used to do it only with beginners, but as the technology evolved, we are now able to even provide learning experience for experienced welders. Since we can now even customize different welding training coupons, materials, etc. So that means that you will find this solution in vocational training schools, you will find it in universities, in welding training centers, and even in industrial companies who want to improve the efficiency of their welding operations. After several studies carried out, we have been able to come up with empiric and objective benefits from applying augmented training compared to the traditional way of training, let's say. The first one is that training is much faster, which means that we are reducing the time at the workshop and therefore also the cost, right? So we are able to train, sorry about that. We are able to train more welders in shorter time, and therefore we are also able to reduce cost. More than 68% of cost from materials, steel, aluminum, wires, gases, everything. We will be able to save them because part of the welding is not going to be at the real workshop. Okay, it's going to be in the simulation, which is not consuming any sort of consumables. And then, of course, much safer, both for the student and for the environment, as we eliminate the heat and the fumes from the simulation. Those case studies, by the way, you will find them in our website if you need to find some more details, and we will be able also to help you to understand those, okay? And to finalize this presentation, I want to share with you a real story from a customer. That is a welding training center from Germany, actually from the German Welding Society. And this story is very nice because they received a group of refugees who wanted to be employed as soon as possible, of course, in the industry of the country. So welding was interesting for them. However, they had no experience at all in welding, and even some of them, or most of them, they didn't even know how to speak German or English, so there was a communication barrier. It was quite challenging, but the goal was to do a 6-month program, okay, combining simulation and real welding together with language sessions, okay? So they organized an augmented training program using this technology for a group of more than 50 students from 16 countries, 16 nationalities. So not easy at all. However, thanks to the continuous improvement system, the motivation of the students, and of course, the great job of the instructors, they were able to obtain the international welding certification and also reduce the average training time in this course more than 20%. So they finalized before the deadline, and the training cost in more than 50% compared if they actually did it only in the traditional welding training way. So definitely it was a very satisfactory experience for all of us, and we are very glad for these refugees. And we look forward to continue releasing talent with augmented reality across the world and to help the welding industry. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and if you wish to know more about this technology, we invite you to contact us, and also go have a tour through our website, YouTube channel. You will find plenty of resources, of testimonials from customers, their own experiences, and you will have a very good understanding of it. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Everybody get some applause. I love it. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Yay.
I don't know how I can.
There. That's okay. That's
I know I can dance and everything, but I don't know how to do that. So.
That's okay. That's fine. We have some questions for you. Someone is, Philippe is asking, how do you explain that it took less time to train those refugees? And anyone else has any questions? Pop them in.
So should I? Okay, I will answer that question. The reason why we train them faster than with the traditional way is that I hear a sound. Maybe a microphone or something?
Yeah, there's a microphone that suddenly opened. James, is that you again? Okay. All right.
No, I was saying that it was not me.
Okay, all right. Okay, so go on for the question.
Right. It looked like someone was welding behind the microphone.
Yeah.
And the reason why those refugees were trained faster than with the traditional methodology is that when you are training on the augmented lab, let's say, in 1 hour, you are able to train in many more practices than in the real workshop, okay? So just to give you an example, you can do 30 WPSs, let's say, 30 exercises in 1 hour in simulation. However, in the real lab, you will be able to do only 4, let's say, 5 maximum. So that means that your muscle memory is going to develop much faster, and you will be able to go and make the test much faster than with the traditional methodology only.
Well, that makes so much sense. I'm getting an echo from somebody. Anyway, to have that connection with the physical. So we have several people are asking about whether or not you use force feedback components.
We use what, sorry?
Force feedback components.
So the technology that we use is pure augmented reality, based on cameras and the markers.
Right,
so,
but what they're asking is there some kind of a physical response?
No, not at the
No,
moment.
okay, all right. So no haptic
No.
and yes, the haptic
No.
devices somebody just brought up, nothing like that. So it's all AR in the responses in there. And how are you finding for precision movement within AR?
The technology is actually our own technology, the augmented reality technology, and the reason why we use it actually is because we need a millimetrical precision in welding. As 1 millimeter is a big difference. So we develop the technology in such a way that we are able to have a very high accuracy, and also the hardware is developed by us. So the resolution of the cameras is top. Everything to do with, let's say, detection of augmented reality is very well cared.
Oh, well, and Andreas in here in the chat has said that the fact that you're using the actual tools, so the augmented reality is guiding, you're actually holding the real tool. So I wanted to make sure there's clarity on that. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, well, you are holding the welding torch, which is a real welding torch, and then you are using also is not a real welding coupon, but is real size and weight welding coupon as well.
Excellent. Do you see some, Luis is saying these technologies surely help the already existing training school, but do you think they'll lead to the creation of new welding schools and training courses that don't exist today? Great question.
That definitely, and actually the government in the different nations is actually supporting those initiatives, because as we said, there are many welders needed. And when they receive these sort of proposals to use this technology, they are very well welcome, because this means digitalizing, this means Industry 4.0. So they are normally they will welcome this kind of initiatives, yes.
Beautiful. So, Francis, are you using AR to show the right gestures, like as a ghost gesture? That's what the AR is doing.
Not yet, but very soon we are going to have that in our system. We are constantly updating our system, and we have more than 40, 50 software engineers working daily on Soldomatic, on this technology. And this is one of the functionalities that we are going to bring very soon.
Excellent. Now, there's an interesting question here that is off topic, but I just want to answer it really quickly. So Lauren, she's asking, or he is asking about an experience with VR for pupils to discover old worlds and famous people. This is Antonio is an expert in setting up welding training programs using augmented reality. Educators in VR has a whole team that is set up working on cultural preservation and heritage things. If you'd like to be involved and find that answer, that's another event. All right. So what I want to know is that when you're working with people are holding the physical objects and you have AR overlapping it. What has been your biggest challenge in connecting those two in real time?
So, the challenge is about we develop our own hardware and software in such a way that the interaction is immediate, and it's the user experience is actually very good after many years of developing it and getting the minimum viable product. Now the user experience is very good, and the interaction is so easy to do between the, let's say, virtual world and the real world.
Excellent. And what do you see going forward with what's the next? Oh, somebody wants to know with the equipment. Let's do that one first, because that's part of my question. What's the equipment that you're using in the training?
So the equipment that we use is the physical simulator, which is simulating a real welding power source with the welding accessories, which means like real welding torches, real welding helmets, and then small accessories from the real welding world, like an electrode, okay, the different welding torches depending on the process. Those are hardware components, okay, in order to let's say set up your own welding booth, okay. So all of them, all the hardware components are simulating real welding devices. If you actually Google Soldomatic, you will find a very clear picture of what it looks like.
Wonderful. Now, where is this going in the future? So put out your vision. Where is this eventually going?
In the future, there are many trends in Industry 4.0 related to welding. One of them is robotic welding, where we are actually now moving on as well. And there is a gap, let's say, to train robotic welders, and that is something that we will answer as well with this technology. And then other skills. You can think that there are many manual skills, not welding only, that require muscle memory, they require practicing, and they are very very expensive and costly and difficult to train. And the industry, them. When you ask a millennial, let's say, what they want to become when they are older, normally they want to go to university. But the truth is that the vocational schools, they need more students because we still need to do those jobs. So there is a whole world behind that needs this technology.
Oh, indeed. Absolutely true. I love it. Now, what is getting in your way? What is stopping that from moving forward?
We have many challenges, of course, when it comes to technology. Actually, when we started, there was no Google, no Apple technology in augmented reality, so we had to develop our own as well. So for other applications, let's say, of course, we find those sort of challenges, but thankfully, the hardware and software technology is now much more evolved. So it's about time. It's about time and making the right efforts at the right time.
Cool. Now, someone wants to know, what AR tools are you using so you've prototyped this, you've developed your own, so there's nothing that is,
Not really.
You're not using other people's things here. And so that's great. Okay, great. So I hear that David is here in the audience. David Whelan is getting ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
All right, everyone, give it up for the amazing Antonio FERNANDEZ PEREZ. Please give us some applause. Yay! Great job. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. All right. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Oh, wow. I just love it. David! Hello. Do you have slides? We are here with one of the great true innovators of immersive technology and a complete just pioneer. He and his wife Sandra, as I mentioned earlier in the pre-intro, co-founded Immersive VR Education in 2014 to bring immersive technology to distance learning and change how students learn globally. And that is exactly what has happened. It is, if you haven't been to the Engage platform and checked it out, you are missing out. Not saying anything about Verbella's beautiful. That's not the point. But what David Whelan and Sandra have done here is, I don't know if it's the English way or if it's the American way. I'm mispronouncing your name. Anyway,
Whelan's the right way.
No, your wife's name.
Oh, Sandra.
Sandra. Okay. Instead of Sandra. Okay, Sandra. He's won awards for virtual reality work, including the Time Warner Future of Storytelling Award, the Vision Award, and the Viveport Award for his work on the Apollo 11 VR. If you haven't seen that, whoa, seriously, need to check that out. And developed Engage, which we love. It Educators in VR presents many workshops, training, conferences on it. So thank you very much. And to you, Chris Matson, and the rest of the Engage team, we love working with you. But there are classes and workshops and full-blown conferences and everything that are also, like Verbella, are happening on Engage and truly disrupting the educational market. So Educators in VR worked with Engage for our International Summit in February. And how are you doing, David?
Yeah, I'm still struggling to get this working.
Okay.
I have crank whatever installed, and I have a link, but it doesn't seem to want to share it on the screen for me.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
we have to do the permissions. All right.
Yeah.
So you guys work on it, and I'm going to talk to the audience. So I want to check in again. You can leave through the comments because now we have many, many more people. Give a shout out in the messages. Where y'all from? And punch it in there while they're fiddling.
Aha.
I hear it. Oh, I see something happening up there. Well, still, I love it. We're looking here. Oh my gosh, look at this list. There's Geraldine from Guadeloupe. Yeah, I love it. Ireland and Germany and Greece and now the Carolines come back and then Normandy. Oh, nice. Switzerland, Wales. Yay, Wales. In the UK. You know, honestly, I live and work in this environment, and I have so many friends that are alone right now with self-isolation or stuck with that partner that they finally get to know after living with for 20 years, and all of a sudden you have to look at them 24 hours a day. And here in VR, you're never alone. You have people here from all over the world. So give yourself an applause. Look at this list. It's just beautiful. I love it. Now, so David's still getting things set up.
I think I'm good to go.
Well, no, we don't see the presentation mode. We see edit mode.
Oh, sorry. So if I go
That's all
full
right.
screen here.
F5.
5. Okay,
F5.
how's that?
Not yet. Waiting for. There it is. All right, my friend. Rock it. Go for it. It's
Cool.
all yours.
Okay.
Everyone, David Whelan.
Okay, thanks very much, everybody. My name is David Whelan. I'm the CEO of VR Education Holdings, an Irish-based company, and the people behind titles such as Apollo 11, Titanic VR, and Shuttle Commander, but we're also the developers behind the Engage virtual reality platform. And this talk today is all about the future of virtual events, and it's a very relevant topic today, especially because of the coronavirus. So many events have been cancelled, so many physical events over the past few months. I think it's over 800 events. There's no large gatherings happening whatsoever anywhere in the world. So everybody is looking at the XR space in a big way as a way to connect people. And obviously it's fantastic meeting everybody here today in this platform, in Laval platform. And there's so many hundreds of people here, which is great. And this really is future of events, because currently at the moment, a lot of people are using XR, so virtual reality and augmented reality, and even just virtual environments as an escape from the world that we live in today. So there's so many people working from home, and there's so many students learning from home as well. And quite often their only outlet to see the real world, especially if you're living in a small apartment, is to meet someone digitally. And obviously a lot of people are using video-based platforms, but virtual reality is a true escape, where if you can put on a headset and you can physically be in a real location talking to people, and even if you're just on a virtual screen like I am here at the moment, the fact that I can move around and interact with people, I feel it's a lot more immersive than just video based platforms. So what are the issues with hosting large online events today? So here we can see a screenshot of an event being held on a video-based platform. In this case, I think it's Zoom. So you can see that there's a window here, and we have an individual window for each person who's logged in. And I think there's 2 or 3 pages actually part of this conference. Now, it's very difficult to communicate on a video-based platform if you have more than 4 or 5 people on the platform. Quite often, if you have maybe 6 or 7 people and you're trying to have a conversation, everybody overtalks each other very, very quickly. And quite often the conversation is very stilted. It goes, okay, sorry, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. And it's not a really good way of collaborating. It's a fantastic medium if you have 2 or 3 people talking. Any more than that, it just gets very, very busy very, very quickly. Also, it is very, very impersonal, where all these participants who are listening to someone else talking on the screen, there's no real interaction. If somebody wants to ask a question, it's going to be very hard for the presenter to see someone raise their hand. Also as well, none of these participants can talk to each other, because if anybody unmutes their mic here and they start talking, it's going to disturb the whole conference. It's not a very natural and intuitive way. It's a very unnatural way for communicating, especially within large groups, because humans are very sociable animals. So why use VR for events? So on this slide, you will see, and these are a couple of examples. So on the left-hand side, this is the Engage platform, and you can have a virtual avatar. And as well here in the Laravel platform as well, everybody here is represented by an avatar. And on the right-hand side, we can actually see avatars from AllSpace. Now, currently today in virtual reality, the avatars won't look 100% realistic. And for the Engage platform that we're developing, we use selfie images. So people, when they're setting up their avatar, they can upload a selfie image of their face, and the avatar will build based on that selfie image. And then in AllSpace, then they go for a cartoony style because they want to fit more avatars in a single session. And the fact that they move in a very natural way is really, really cool. So when you're watching a video-based platform, you're just seeing the person's head and you can see their mouth moving, and that's about it. But when you're inside virtual reality with the avatars, even though the avatars don't look 100% realistic, the fact that they move in a very natural way, that gives you a sense of presence, that that person is right there next to you, that you are actually talking to them within just a couple of feet. The avatars' hands will move because they're tracked with the trackers that are on the hand controllers, and their head will move very naturally. So if somebody is talking to you in virtual reality, you turn and you face them and you look straight at them. Or if you want to wave or get someone's attention, if you want to ask a question, you can simply raise your hand and ask a question. So it's a very, very cool, and it's a more natural and intuitive way of communicating. And quite often, a lot of senior people, they're very, very afraid of technology and new technology, and they get flustered when they have to use lots of controls or if there's lots of menu systems. But inside virtual reality, that's pretty much alleviated, because if they want to turn around, they will physically turn around. If they want to shake your hand, you physically reach out and shake their hand, and that's something that you can't do on any other medium. Also as well, locations. So we're in this great hall here at the moment with, I think, a couple of hundred people. And on Engage as well, this is one of the example locations built by HTC for an event that they held inside the Engage platform a few weeks ago. But why even be limited by a real world location? Why not hold an event on the surface of Mars? So here's an example of the Educators in VR event, which was held on Mars, and they explored the Martian surface in their suits, and they were interacting with the Curiosity rover, and they sent it on missions. So you're not really limited. You're only limited by your imagination, because this is a digital world. Whereas if you're in a physical conference, I've gone to quite a few in the past. So I've gone to Oculus Connect, I've gone to some other ones here in Europe as well. And once you go to one conference, pretty much the same all around the world, where you will get lots of stalls set up and lots of demonstrations. The staging is normally the same. You have fancy lighting with some audio. You don't really need to hold events like that in virtual reality. You can hold events anywhere. Here's an event being held on the base of the rocket launch pad for the Apollo 11 rocket. And then on the other side here, we have a CPT and VR event, which is hosted by Steve Bambury, and he's actually talking to Tom Furness here, one of the leaders in virtual reality technology and one of the godfathers who prototyped a lot of early headsets back in the 60s. And the great thing about these virtual environments is that they feel real when you're in a VR headset, because you feel like you're there, you feel like you're in the location. Whereas if you're looking at an event on a video-based platform, it's a disconnect. It's like watching a movie. You don't feel like you're part of that organization or part of that location. Audio is a massive benefit using virtual reality spatial audio. And even in the event here today where I'm on a desktop, we have spatial audio. And the way it works is obviously we have a room here with about 100 people. Inside Engage, we have rooms of 50 people. And if the presenter is up on the stage and talking and you want to lean over and talk to somebody next to you in the audience, you can do that in virtual reality using spatial audio. So if you lean over and whisper in their ear, it will sound like they're right next to you. If somebody is standing behind you and talking to you, it sounds like they're behind you. So very easily, you can have large groups of people interacting very naturally. And you can also have those hallway conversations. So after this talk, I will be walking around the environment and I can go and I can have conversations with other people at this event without disturbing any of the speakers just by walking outside the door. Trying to do this on a video-based platform just simply doesn't work. And audio really is key to having a good virtual experience. A lot of people are wowed by the visual experience of virtual reality and, oh, it's really cool that I'm under the water here. I'm actually on Mars holding an event. But audio is a massive key thing that you need to get right in a virtual experience or a virtual conference. And that's something that a lot of people miss.
David?
Yep.
Sorry, and James, we've lost the slides. It's there. Crank wheel is somehow lost its focus. Just want to double check because we're not seeing this. It's being taken with it. Beautiful.
Yeah. It's magic because we saw that it disappeared. It's the trouble with crank wheel. It's a lot of people. So yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. It's back then, is it?
Nope. But David, you can keep talking. We'll catch up the slides because we want to hear what you have to say. We don't care about your pretty pictures.
Okay.
Yes, we do, but we're working on it. I love, and just for a second, can we please give some applause for the amazing moderation team here, the team supporting and stuff here to make this event work is incredible. So thank you all. All right, David, keep going.
No problem. So I'm actually just going to see, can I start that again? It should be. Okay. So I was talking about audio for virtual events, and audio is key. It's 50% of the overall experience for people. So 50% is audio and 50% is the visual experience. Next slide that I have, and I'll just describe the slide, is I have a photograph of a young lady and she's terrified inside a virtual experience because she's trying out a horror game. Now, the reason she's terrified watching this or playing this horror game is the fact that she feels like she's in imminent danger. So there's a ghost actually coming right up to her face, and she feels like that ghost is right there next to her. Again, this is something that you can really only do on a virtual platform, whereas you can quite often, like I've watched quite a lot of horror movies, and a lot of these movies are great, and some of them do disturb me a little bit, but I never feel like I'm in imminent danger because there is that safety where I'm in a real room. And this is something that you can just do inside a virtual platform. Also, as well, you can really wow people inside virtual reality. So one of the key things inside virtual reality is because it's digital, you're only limited by your imagination. And in one of the events that we held, Alvin, the vice president or the president of HTC China, was describing a video of a train back 150 years ago when it was in the early cinemas, or 100 years ago, and everybody was jumping out of the way of the train because they thought the train was going to come through the screen. As he was describing that in the virtual event that we held, we actually had the train crash straight through the screen and right up in front of the avatars' faces. So it was a really cool experience. The next slide here is an educators in VR slide.
Excuse me, David.
Yep.
Can you relaunch your crank wheel and pass me the link in private message, please?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Let me find that again. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Okay, and share. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to share this link to you now. Sorry about this. One of the great things about being in, say, trying to lead the charge in virtual settings. I think I've sent it to you now, actually. Who am I sending it to? Krista?
Hey, if you don't break it, it doesn't get better. That's kind of how this goes.
That's it.
There's something.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
You know,
it.
And David, that's why we appreciate you went ahead of everyone else to break things, to really push the envelope. So love it, absolutely love it that you're here and you're sharing.
No problem,
Yeah.
no problem at all. So I'll actually just get back to the slide where I was speaking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, don't worry. I actually had one. I'll tell you a funny story about demoing technology. So many years ago, just at the very early days of creating Engage, this was about 4.5 years ago, we had a demonstration at a really major client and a potential major client or potential major investor at the day. And when we arrived at the demonstration, they asked, could we run Engage on a smart TV? And we tried it, and eventually we got it working. And then it was behind a major firewall. Now I had a room of 50 tech engineers all around me, and gradually, one by one, they all drifted off. And it was one of those kind of, I wish I could curl up and die in a corner kind of moments. But it's one of the things when you're trying to use bleeding edge technology, as we are today in this event, things will always go wrong. It's how you react to those issues is really what makes you stand apart. And I think your moderators are doing a fantastic job, by the way. So just this slide that I have here in front of me, this is the Educators in VR slide. So Educators in VR, for those who don't know, is a monthly meetup, and they have professionals from all over the world, and they meet in a variety of different locations.
It's
so
now a weekly. Sorry, David. It's weekly. It's not a meetup anymore. Just want to correct because we just introduced who we are. So we meet once a week, and in Altspace we also meet regularly and Engage. So we're everywhere, but that doesn't matter. It's unimportant. Keep going. Keep going.
Cool. So I was just going to say that they're meeting in several different different platforms, and there's new platforms popping up every day, which is fantastic. And we really support people's efforts as well, because it's such a greenfield opportunity right now. The world is a massive place, and because of coronavirus, the opportunity is even more so. So during one of these Educator in VR events, I got to meet Alvin Grayland, the president of HTC in China. And it was actually really critical timing. So HTC were just after canceling their physical event in China, which was the Vive Ecosystem Conference, which is where they gathered developers and marketing people, about 2,000 or 3,000 people each year in a physical location. And Vive talk about all about the future, about what products they have coming up, what software is coming, and kind of their roadmap for the next 2 or 3 years. And that was cancelled because it was going to be held physically in China that year. And when I met Alvin was really toying with the idea of holding the whole event within virtual reality, obviously because HTC are one of the leaders in the technology space. And we said, sure, look, we'd love to host that. And we worked with the guys over a few weeks, and we got it working inside the Engage platform. Now, I have a video here. I don't know if I play it, will it play on your side, but I'll give it a go. I had a little bit of trouble with the audio. So just let me know if the audio plays for this. This is a highlights video. Can you hear that audio?
No sound.
No sound? Okay, I could talk through it anyway if there's no sound. This is the Engage platform, and this was the Vive Ecosystem Conference. And as you can see, there's people popping up on the stage down below. And what we had here is during the conference, we had 1,000 people logged into virtual reality, and they were in a variety of different headsets. So they were using Vive headsets, they were using Oculus headsets, Pico headsets. A lot of people were logged in on desktop as well. And if you look at the environment itself, it's not a hugely large environment. The environment only holds 50 full body avatars, as you can see there. But we have a system called projected presence. And what projected presence is that we could clone the presenters into multiple different rooms at the same time. So everybody could see the presenter and feel like they were within touching distance, but in reality, that presenter was in their own special VIP room presenting live or recorded. And here you can actually see Alvin talking himself, and there's a coronavirus kind of being spread out, and everybody then was given these hazmat suits. And here's the train example I was talking about. So you'll see now in a moment that this was the old footage from the cinema. and then we have a train coming straight through the screen. So a lot of these things we can do because it is virtual reality or a digital event where this is stuff that you can't do on video live. I know there's lots of live video effects where you can put mustaches on people and hats, and I've seen quite a few priests around the world not knowing about filters on Instagram, and they're trying to give sermons, and next minute they're turned into like a bodybuilder or some other kind of weird looking person. So it's a really fun environment working in technology, in digital displays and digital events. Here we actually have Tom Furness. Tom Furness is one of the godfathers of VR, as I said. He made some of the early prototypes back in the 50s and 60s, and a very, very interesting person. So it was a really, really cool event. I'm actually going to skip through this because can't hear the audio. That's Charlie Fink actually holding a panel discussion. And one of the cool things about being in VR is that holding a panel discussion is very, very natural, where you can talk to each other, you have eye contact, and it's very easy to butt in on someone, whereas on a video-based platform, everybody overtalks each other very, very quickly. So let me just get to the next slide. Okay. So let me get out of that, F5.
Well, we have questions that are starting to come in, so we're ready for that when you are.
Okay, so I'm actually going to skip through just one or two other slides. So one of the really cool things about using a virtual event is very low bandwidth requirements, and bandwidth requirements for a VR event. Oh, why am I on all the way back here? Let me go all the way down here. Let me skip that. So the bandwidth requirements for VR are very, very small. And really, when you're holding an event in a video-based platform, each person is transmitting video at 720p. And then you're also transmitting audio as well. So an hour-long piece of content on a video-based platform, from a bandwidth requirement, if you want to record it, is about 1 to 2 gigabytes big to get any type of video quality. An hour-long piece of content inside the Engage platform or similar platforms, on our platform in particular, it's 80 megabytes, because what we do is we don't transmit video, we transmit positional data of the avatars, the same as this platform here. And we also transmit audio, which is an MP3 file that's compressed. So the bandwidth requirements are very small. And right now, a lot of ISP providers are struggling to cope with the demands because everybody is using video-based platforms like Zoom and Skype for video communication, for education. They're using it for conferences and business meetings. And really, you've seen recently that Netflix and YouTube, they've actually reduced their streaming services to, they don't stream at such high levels anymore because of the amount of bandwidth that's required. So people do use more and more virtual platforms, really alleviate that problem. Now, finally, I'll just finish up with, why do I feel that XR is going to succeed now? It's a term that somebody has said to me, and I don't really like using the term, but it is very apt. A perfect storm has just happened. So over the past year to year and a half, standalone headsets have come out, which are really, really good devices. So you have the Vive Focus, you have the Oculus Quest, and you have Pico headsets, and there's more coming on stream very, very soon. These devices are the same price as an iPad or even less than the price of an iPad, and they're very, very affordable. I know VR has been around over the last 40 years, but it's been hugely expensive. And then when the original Oculus came out and the original Vive came out 5 or 6 years ago now, you still needed a PC connected to that device. And that was still a $2,000 expense. And it was very cumbersome connecting all the cables and getting a good VR experience. Whereas now you can just take a headset out of your bag and put it on and you're ready to go. So that's number one. Number two then has been 5G rollout. So a lot of telecommunications companies today are really struggling to upsell their customers to 5G subscriptions. And the reason being that most people are happy with 4G services where they can stream Netflix, they can watch YouTube, they can check their email on their phone. There's no need for a 16K image on your phone device. But using 5G in an XR context where you can get 360 video streamed in at very high resolutions, that makes a massive difference. Or maybe streaming in different assets, so photogrammetry assets, they could be streamed in very, very quickly. Or even in the future, you could render all the graphics off the headset itself and then stream that to the VR device. So you could reduce the size of the device, and it's just really a device for consuming content, and it will make VR more reachable. So there's a lot of telecoms companies, and we're dealing with quite a few at the moment, that are looking at building their own headsets and actually using XR. So they have a vested interest to make sure that XR is a huge success. And then finally, then a world-changing event. So obviously, the coronavirus is the event that has pushed all of the events into a virtual setting, into a virtual space. And a lot of people now working from home, they're getting used to working from home. A lot of kids are getting used to be homeschooled. It's going to be a different world when this coronavirus is gone. I don't believe this coronavirus is going to go anytime soon, but I don't believe that people are going to readily jump on planes in the future to go for a meeting that's only an hour long and then get a plane journey on the way back. A lot of people are now at home with their families, they're getting their work done, so they're going to be looking for better collaboration tools in the future. And I believe VR and AR is perfectly suited to meet their needs a lot better than the current solutions of using text-based platforms and video-based platforms. So really, that's about it from me, and I'm happy to take questions. If people want to download the platform, it's up on the screen there now, hopefully, and yeah, happy to take any questions.
Well, we're running out of time, and we could spend like 2 hours just talking to you, but you and I think I'm not sure, maybe speaking at a panel. I'm not sure if you're on it. You were on it, not on it, coming up in less than an hour or so. But here's some very quick ones. I think one of the most important things is the interactivity with objects. So how can you share and 3D? Can you talk about that really briefly?
Yeah, so inside our particular platform, you have a virtual iPad. And the reason we have a virtual iPad is educators know how to use iPads because they've been using them for years, and generally most people do. And we have a system where there's a collection of 3D objects. If you want to put a 3D object in the environment, you can search for it on the iPad and you can pop it into the environment, and then you can interact with it. You can pick it up and you can manipulate it depending on what that item is. If you need to upload your own objects, there's an enterprise version of the platform where you can upload to your own hosting account, and then you can bring those objects in. So it's very easy and intuitive to do.
Now, with educators in VR, when we choose a platform to present on, the agnostic and democratic access to allow 2D and tablets and Android and iPhone as well as VR is something we take into serious consideration. So with Engage and with virtual platforms and expertise, opinion, comments.
Yep. So with Engage, currently on the screen here now, you can see that we do support most every VR headset out there today, except the Oculus Go. And we also support standard desktop displays as well. Very soon, actually, in the coming weeks, we're going to be supporting mobile phones as well. So you'll be able to download Engage on your mobile phone. It'll be Android first, and it will work flawlessly on that device. And then some weeks after that, then we will have iPhone support and Mac support, but that's a little bit of a time away. But pretty much any device that's out there, we want to make sure that we're platform agnostic and we will work on everything.
Fantastic. Oh, we have a ton of questions more, but we've run out of time. And so, thank everyone. Please give it up for the amazing David Whelan from Engage. If you have not accessed that platform, go right now. I mean, not now, it's not said right, and check it out because we love it and it's a great, great platform. And thank you, David, for everything that you're doing. So I love it.
No problem. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. All right, next up is Christian MAI, and Christian should be in the room. All right, everybody, yay, more applause for David. Okay, Christian, yay, I love it. Thank you, David. Oh, I hate having such short time. Come on, who's with me? Give us some emojis. Who wants more time with these amazing world-renowned pioneer experts? Yeah. Really. All right. So, Christian, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, you're getting your
Can you hear
slides
me?
all set up? Yes, I can.
Oh,
How about the rest of the
that's
audience?
So good to know.
Yeah. So, how about I introduce you while I'm Well,
That
we're
would
getting
be
you
awesome.
all set up. All right, great. I am just, so excited about what you're bringing to the table here today. So, Christian, I will get.
Relax,
I'm sorry.
relax.
It's the sun has just risen where I am, so I've been up all night.
You're
So,
doing
Christian,
such a good job. Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
It's so emotional. It's really good. I like it.
I love it. All right. Okay, so Christian MAI of Innoactive. I am so excited that you are here, and we should all be just trust me. So he's providing insights into the use of Innoactive Creator. This by leading the enterprise industry, well, enterprise in general, in the automotive and aviation industry. Now, this is very near and dear to me. My husband is in the aerospace industry. He's an aerospace engineer, and I can't tell you, it's like dealing with a bunch of Luddites. I say, honey, instead of going through the plans and the blueprints and CATIA to look at, let's just bring it into immersive VR and let's just spin that engine around or that part or whatever it is so you can look at it, design it, solve the problem, whatever. And he's like, why would I want to put on a headset to do this when I have paper? So I am so thrilled you're pushing the envelope forward on this. So this is very personal to me. And so Christian is part of the brains behind the integration of immersive technologies into, like I said, automotive and aviation. And he specializes in the development of virtual reality systems for professional applications, in particular, and this also is very personal to me, ergonomic and human-machine interface design of vehicle interiors to improve user experience. Yeah, I love that. Where's the cheer? Oh, there's the claps. And which one's my cheer? There it is. Yes, I love it. So he's going to be talking about the Innoactive Creator, which will help you to scale VR training. So are you ready?
Yes, of course. I'm ready.
All right. Rock and roll. It's all yours. All
Okay,
yours.
cool. Thank you very much for the introduction. So I'm really happy to be here at Laval. It's really a different experience than being actually at the location, but I really like it till now. And I want to start with an announcement. So our company is building different products, and I would just want to go one step ahead. To the end of the presentation, we will open source one of those products, the Innoactive Creator. But what the Innoactive Creator is and why we choose this product and what it's all about, I will go through in this talk. So this talk is called How Enterprises and XR Studios Use the Open Source Innoactive Creator to Standardize and Scale VR Training. So now I'm in the wrong picture, but this is me. So that you have a face in mind when I'm talking to you. I'm almost that blonde as my avatar. My name is Christian MAI. I'm a PhD, and currently I'm a solutions engineer at Innoactive. So I'm taking care that our customers get successful with our products, that VR itself gets a useful and successful tool within the industry. So I'm really happy to be at this company and drive VR to a beautiful future. But I also have this academic background. So if you're interested in my research on the usage of HMDs in everyday contexts like workplaces or even household environments, take a screenshot or whatever you like to take notes by and visit my homepage. But today it's about Innoactive, and Innoactive is a team. And I'm showing a lot of pictures here because that's basically what agencies do. And this is where we come from. We started as an agency at around 2013. And this agency was building a lot of VR and AR applications for a huge variety of industries for a lot of partners. And while doing that, we found that it's really annoying to do that, because VR and AR are a new technology, and we had to communicate a lot and to align a lot, and there was a lot of trouble that we had just by communication and guessing what the customer actually needs, how much effort it will be, and so on and so forth. And at some point, like 2 or 3 years ago, we realized, okay, it's not the process of communication. It's just we don't have the right tools yet to do that. So, and how we came from the agency part to being a solution provider today to being a software company, this will be driving this story. And I will start with some customer stories that explain the motivation. We'll show you the problems that we face in creating trainings for VR within industries. Then show you a short live demo. Let's see how it works out. And then I will just wrap up everything and be there for your questions. So to start, we have one customer, Volkswagen. They trained already about 10,000 people. They have around 9 brands that they are deploying trainings at, and they have more than 7 XR studios that are working for them and building VR trainings. VR trainings for them have special environments, so special roles. It's people actually working in production lines, people wearing headset while being at the workplace. So it's what I want to say here, it's highly complicated. We're dealing with a high number of varieties, of internationality of people being involved into this process. And what Volkswagen found after having the first apps running is if you want to scale that, if you want to have thousands of apps and train hundreds of thousands of people, you need some help by a software tool. And we started working on that and offered something like the Creator, what we are talking about today, to create trainings in a standardized manner, and a tool that we call the Portal that helps you to deploy and maintain these apps on these sites. Another customer, the Aeroground Munich, is basically the same, but they're in an earlier stage. Just to give you an insight again, so they already have trained 500 people. These people really like the VR training, and they said, say at Aeroground Munich, we want to train at least 80% in VR, because having an airplane on ground is really expensive. It's dangerous to train on a run field, and so on and so forth. So they started with one agency. They found, okay, 1 or 2 apps that works out, but if we want to build more apps, it's getting more expensive, it's getting more stressful. We need standards, we need something that helps us to scale it up. And what I'm talking about today is we found over the years as being an agency and as being a solution provider and actually selling software to our customers, that there's almost the same user journey having every time when you start to build trainings in VR. So when you have headsets, VR headset, and you have the PCs, and you try to get them running, the first thing you will need is 3 models. That's the first thing everybody thinks about. How can I get my CAD data into VR? That's not an easy question, because there's a lot of challenges happening. There's a lot of standards that are not defined yet. You have to think about how do you get materials in there? How do I do animations? We said, okay, no, that's not an issue, because there's a lot of people already taking care of that. What we are taking care of is building the logic of the training. And we found that because with going on the sites, with VR going on the sites in the production halls, we found new roles into this game of creating trainings. It's the trainer itself, but the trainer does not really know how to use VR or a Unity, for example, to build a VR scene. The developer does, but the developer has no idea about the work of the trainer and how to build trainings, design trainings. So these people speak different languages. So how do we deal with that? The next pain we found in this journey is, okay, now we have a basic idea how to work together. Then we need to find out, okay, how do we define a look and feel of a VR app? VR is not reality. So how do you teleport? How do you grab stuff if you don't have hands but controllers? How do you highlight objects? It's something you can't do in reality, but you have really expensive augmented reality devices. So then if you have this basic understanding on how it should look like, it's like, okay, now we know what we want to do, but how much is it? How much effort will it be? if you build everything from the scratch, you can't really know what will be the inhibitions that we will face. For an agency as we were, it was difficult because we always had to overestimate the price tag to be secure. And even as our customers today internally, they have to calculate return of invest. So if you can't calculate how much it costs and how much effort it will be, you will get into trouble. So what should we do? And finally, you want to implement such an training, and after implementing it, you will realize, okay, that's not what we were discussing. We need to iterate. And I can tell you, we iterated a lot and we were talking a lot. And right now, I'm just talking about one app. Think about you want to build 30 apps. Think about you want to build 1,000 apps or maybe even 10,000 apps. Then you run into trouble if you go like this every time. So basically, what we proposed is, okay, we need a tool. And this we called the Innoactive Creator. And the Innoactive Creator should help in these 4 steps. I will go through these 4 panes now, and I will start with pane number 5. And here it's about, okay, we need to implement and review it and iterate a lot. How can we go around that? We need a standard. And the standard we propose is a template that we use within our creator. This template can be customized by you as an agency, you as a company, and defines how, for example, controllers are used, how you communicate, how you design UIs, how do you design highlights. It defines the way you teleport, so it defines the look and feel of your VR training. And even the trainer outside of the virtual world has to interact with the VR. That's something you also can put into this template. And this template is your standard that you can communicate, that you can distribute. And we and the Innoactive Creator software takes care that no matter who is using this template, it will always give the same result without running into issues. The next thing was we needed to align on efforts. So if you have this template and if you know the functionalities in your VR environment, like you have a speech assistant system, in our case, it's this funny robot up here, or you have a barcode, a highlighting object, so like the circle here, then you don't have that much uncertainty anymore because you know how much it takes to integrate this into an app. So you can simply count how much of your template you have to implement into the storyboard that is already existent for the training. And at the end, there is a number X that tells you how much dollar it costs. In this case, we could do that really easily. The only thing that was missing is down here, this barcode scanner you can see on this hand. And by this, we really limited the uncertainty of how much it will cost and how much effort is it just to this barcode scanner. Then we are one step further. The pain was, okay, we don't really know what it actually should look like. And what we at Innoactive have is a lot of experience in that. So what we offer is a base template, something where you can start off, something where a first UI is integrated, a first interaction toolkit is integrated. And you can use this and start off and build your own template and customize it. This is really, really helpful because people who don't know what this VR is about will have something they can look at, they can play with. And finally, we had this transference of know-how. So what we did, we took Unity because almost all our customers go for Unity, and we built a visual editor that will help you to add logic to a VR theme, to geometry. What we have is, on the one hand, a workflow editor that helps you to visual program and enables the trainer to create a training process in VR without any coding knowledge. I will show you in a minute what this means. And on the other hand, we have this the system where you can combine these functionalities like a highlight with an object like this box. So you could just take this box, drag it in here, and then it would be a highlighted object in a certain step. So the trainee knows where to go. To sum that up, so basically what you see here, this is our concept. We have the creator at the base that is the plugin for Unity that ensures that your trainings are persistent. So it's safe, you can save them, you can distribute them. The training you create are running trainings, so there's no errors in it. And we handle that in the background. It's really important, as trainees often don't know much about that. We have the trainer and developer. They will start to work with the base template to align on what they want to have, and then they will separate their roles and do what they can do the best. The developer will customize the framework and write code, because the developer is the specialist in writing code. He knows best to do that. He shouldn't waste time and build training apps again and again and again. That's not his expertise. That's the expertise of the trainer. And we enable the trainer to use this customization framework and edit it with a visual workflow editor and build the VR training scene, or change it if it's still already existing. So that's the theory. And now I will do something I was waiting the whole day for. It's a little bit crazy. We think we try to do a live demo. So I hope that works out as I was planning to be. I already realized, I'm sorry for that, that the resolution on your side is not the best. So I will try to do my best and describe what you should see. Crank wheel is going crazy here. Opa. Okay. And I also should have, no. Ah, there it is. Now you should see a pink dot on the screen. So what you can see here, there's a 3D scene already populated with geometry. And this 3D scene has already some the creator integrated. So what we have set up here is in this case VRTK. In May we will go for the new creator version. It will be Unity XR based. So what I say is here we support multiple devices. We will always also support standalone devices, which takes a lot of effort for our customers. But the main thing is about the training configuration. So the training configuration makes our training scene the training scene, and it enables me to create training courses. I now open a training course. As you can see here, this is the workflow editor I already talked about. It enables you to create chapters for your training application to help you to sort all of this stuff. And you can see here, there is the whole training process described in procedural steps. This is what trainers always do, is like when you have a storyboard, then you can just put that in here. It's basically the same. What I'm here for is commissioning of gears. So we have this gear, we need to commission them into these boxes, start and control the process by this display, and then ship the package on this conveyor belt. So to set it up, you need this. I just go briefly into it because this would be much to go through every step and show you one simple example, the welcome step, because I can basically explain the important stuff here. This is the welcome step, and what I can do, I can just delete it. So it's easy to change a training at any time, at any point in time. I can add a step again, and I can add multiple steps. So what we also can do is like branching. So a decision, after this step, should this step be coming, or should the training proceed with that step? We are not going to do that here. I just show you the possibility. And what I can also show you is I'm gesticulating with my left hand the whole time. You can't see it, but I'm only using my right hand. So no program needed. Now we go to the new step. What we should do here. Is there a problem? I can't see it. Me too? No? Okay. So I will just name that welcome. And what you can see here is basically the easiest visual representation of the template. There's much more in the template, but here it gets understandable. We have behaviors. So there's everything happening inside the step. So basically everything happening in the 3D world, animating it, moving stuff, whatever. And we have so-called transitions. The transitions always define one of these dots. So when are, as the trainee, allowed to proceed to the next step? So we use the behaviors here because we want to welcome our participant. I add a behavior, and there's a lot of possibilities. This is our base template. For example, one behavior would be highlighting an object. So giving it a green glow so the trainee knows where to look at. We now will look at an audio welcome. So the virtual world should say, hello, it's nice to have you here. I can always use audio files, of course, but I can also use text to speech. And when using text to speech, we come to the first thing that is interesting with our software. We aim at not locking you into anything. That's something we faced with the work of agencies, that they often want to save the code, of course, and geometry and the scenes, and only deliver the finalized app. But also it's the thing with other software where you have to rely on what the software offers. So if a highlight is green, then it's green forever. We don't lock you into anything. You can change anything you want. You don't have to, but you can. And this is the case here. So we're using Cortana to render the voice, but you can also use Google, or can I use Amazon to use as a speech system.
So Christian, we're running out of time, and this it's like a movie. You finally got to the good part that I'm now lusting over, and we have a million questions, but the other speaker is due up, and we want to respect their time. So this is my challenge.
So how much minutes do you have?
You are we are late by 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You're over.
Okay, I should have known that in advance. I was planning with more time. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Then please let me announce two things,
yes,
okay?
Please,
okay,
please, and then I have an idea to keep the conversation going. All right.
So the first thing
please.
is I told about the open sourcing of the creator, and the creator will be available to download under the Apache 2.0 open source license under Innoactive GmbH. And as we're shown the time today, we will have an onboarding webinar on the 6th of May. You can find it on innoactive.de/events. So please take a screenshot, take a picture with your smartphone. I don't care. You can even use a pen if you want to. But get in touch. We would love to have you there, because what we also do is we are an open community. We want to be VR to be a success. So if you are interested into training in VR, we have this VR training summit where we have a lot of our customers talking about their experiences when using our software and when using VR, when rolling out VR trainings in their companies. So it's 4 days, 3 hours every day, starting from very beginning leveling up to people who are already trained in VR a lot. So I'm happy to see you there. Thank you for letting me tell that to the community, because we want to be part of a community and not just sell software.
Well, I love it, and trust me, you'll be hearing from educators in VR. Everyone, please give up a hand, and then I'm going to give you an idea of how to keep the conversation going. So everybody, applause for Christian. This is amazing. I love this.
That was amazing. Just one comment. I don't know, Christian, you're still staying in this area outside of this hall. You can meet the people outside of this hall if you want to take more time. You can use that time also.
All right, I will. So please head outside the hall and you can communicate and chat. I also recommend you use there are questions that are sitting begging to be asked right in the public channel. So keep the conversation going while we're setting up the next speaker, and use that as a tool to keep going too. So I love it. We have options here. We have awesome options. See there, that's my new thing. Awesome awesomes. Options. I can't even say it. All right, next up. Thank you so much. So next up is Tim MASSEY. Are you here? Are you set up? Are you ready to go? Start jumping. All right. So let me Yes, we can hear you. So while I'm introducing, and there you are. Beautiful. Okay. So let me do the introduction while you're playing with the slides. And well, isn't this amazing? Come on, some more emojis and hearts. Fill up that thing. You know, we give some emojis and things to really. These are amazing speakers. And tell Laval, we want more time. We want more time, because I just love these speakers. All right, Tim MASSEY is from VICON.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yay! All right, so let me introduce you. So Tim is the project manager for VR and engineering for VICON Motion Systems, and is literally pushing the boundaries of immersive technology for free roaming, location-based VR. That is, I cannot wait to hear all of this. And what my understanding is, it allows users to integrate VR into their environment free of restraint, which with the Oculus Quest and the Go, well, especially the Go and the Quest came out for VR users, that was a game changer, because we could literally go anywhere, do anything with it, so to speak. But you're talking about greater power, greater usage, to use VR in industry in ways we've never even imagined. So we're thrilled to have you here, and I'm ready. Everybody ready? Give it up for Tim.
Thank you very much, Lorelle. Thank you. So hello everyone. So like Lorelle just said, we are going to be talking about serious games, but also an area of VR you may have heard about, you may have seen. If not, I'll be introducing it to you, called location-based entertainment, or location-based VR. And we'll get straight into it. So some of the things that I'll talk about, and we've seen some great examples here today already. This has been really amazing and fascinating, some of the examples we've seen, and how VR training can really help you. And I'll also talk about, after that, some of the limitations with VR training. Obviously, it's a tool that many people may use, but also there are some issues. We'll also talk about what is location-based VR. I'll give you a brief introduction to that. And I have seems I'm having some audio issues. Hopefully this will improve soon. I'll carry on, and hopefully you can hear me. We have some video. I don't think we're going to get an amazing frame rate here. I will share the slides of the presentation afterwards, so you can watch those if it's not a great experience. But there are some fascinating video out there that can show you exactly what this technology does. And also, I want to share with you some great examples of how this technology is already being used outside of a gaming context, outside of entertainment, in businesses today, and how it can be used further. So like we said, and we've seen some great examples of this already, some advantages that we have in VR training. It's a much more accessible format. It's very much easier to repeat the experience and reinforce that learning. And also, of course, compared to a physical activity, it takes away some of those risk and safety concerns. We saw some great examples of that earlier with the cell towers, for example. And also, another key factor is you can automate the assessment of that training, validate that it's the learning material is being absorbed. And of course, it's a digital format, so it scales well. Once you've developed it, it can be used multiple ways. I'm not going to go through some of the more conventional examples. I'll move on to LBVR much quicker, but some examples similar to what we've been talking about this afternoon, actually. So Boeing, for example, is already reducing the training time for mechanics by a month, a third of the time involved by using VR. An example that I find really inspiring, and we mentioned Walmart earlier, a quote from late last year that VR training actually helped save lives. The staff at Walmart actually felt like they'd been in an active shooter scenario and reacted that much faster, that much more ably as a result of that training. And as a result, lives were saved. So you can see an example of that there. VR training is great for retention. It really improves the time that's taken to do that training, and also, like I've said, is much more immersive. But there are some issues with it, and we've touched on some of this already this afternoon. If you're not used to VR environment, you're not used to using controllers, you're maybe not used to IT generally, it's actually not as accessible as we would like to think. There's no physical element sometimes. We saw a great example of the welding training earlier about muscle memory, which is key to some learning experience, particularly if it's an active role that you're walking through. And also a VR experience, it maybe doesn't feel as real as we would like to think, because we're not moving around, we're not free roaming, to use the term we had earlier. So I'll show you some examples of that earlier. Learning is heavily linked to how you feel, what emotions you feel, and if you don't feel those emotions because you don't feel immersed in the environment, you don't absorb that information as quickly. And of course, like we were just talking about just before this presentation, the interaction design in VR is also challenging. Our hands are natural controllers, and the more we can get away from redesigning that experience, the better. So what is location-based entertainment? LBVR, if you like. If you haven't heard of it, we've got some examples of some of our partners here. Virtual reality hardware combining with motion tracking technology that has been developed over the last couple of years. And it creates a virtual environment that you can experience with a group of friends. You can experience it in a group, and it's in a retail environment. You go to a physical location to experience that. So it's a high turnover environment. It requires reliable technology to work, as well as great content. And it's forecast to be one of the fastest growing areas of LBVR. This is not something that's going to go away. It's currently extremely successful and growing around the world. So I have a video. I hope you can see this. The frame rate will not be great, but hopefully it gives you a flavor better than pictures of what exactly LBVR looks like. It's like I said, it's a retail environment. Not playing at all. Can you see this at all? Very slow. I'll share a link afterwards. I'll move on to some screenshots we've got of these videos. So like I was saying, it is a VR experience. It involves putting a headset on, like we've seen, along with tracking technology, and you get a full body recreation of your avatar in a virtual environment. You can interact with objects, you can go anywhere, be anything, and you can be immersed in the movie you're being. And like I said, it involves this group experience. Not only are you in VR experiencing your environment, you can touch objects, you can interact with them, you can feel objects that are physically there in your hands. You can, in some cases, you can smell smells in certain locations. You can have air blowing in your hair. It's an absolutely unbelievable experience. And any of you that are near one of these locations, I would thoroughly encourage you to try it out. Like I said, it's a retail environment. You can go and try it and see it for yourself. And of course, like you can see in this picture, it allows you to interact with objects, with puzzles, in a much more natural, realistic way. You're using your hands, you're using those natural controllers that life gave you to really immerse yourself in that experience. And so this is not the first time we've seen gaming technology of interest. 3D visualization tools and engines since the 90s have been adapted to computer-aided design. And this is no different. This is a maturing technology. It's now part of a viable retail industry, combined with head-mounted displays and the 3D engines we've all been talking about. And there are a number of great examples of this. This is one of my favorite videos. You can watch it afterwards. We did an esports event with our partners, VR Arcade in the Netherlands, fighting off the zombie apocalypse. It was a big hit. But we also had some visitors there from the Dutch military who were also represented at the event. And it is like night and day when you see real experts put in this environment. They move like soldiers. They believe they are there fighting off that zombie apocalypse, which is maybe a useful skill for today. We'll see. But this is a real breakthrough moment, I think, where people are really believing they're in this situation, and therefore that learning experience is that much stronger. So how might this be used? So I won't show the videos because we are struggling a little bit with those, but like I say, I'll share this afterwards. So moving on very quickly from that, this is a great example. The NYPD is already using this technology to train active shooter scenarios. They work in a team. They move through the room. They clear the room as if they would in real life, obviously without the hazard of being shot at, which is a key consideration, or even being on a firing range where you learn the environment, you learn the tricks of where you are. This can be digitally manipulated and changed. They use real weapons. Well, not real weapons, but they have real recoil. It feels like a real weapon. And also you can have, I'm going to say digital actors, but real participants playing hostage takers, which can play out a role play scenario, and one that feels real, but adds that unpredictable element. I think this is a brilliant example of how a very small leap from the technology we were seeing before can be used to really build real skills and add that level of realism you need to take these lessons seriously, essentially. The next one I'm just going to touch on very briefly. This is from Sports VTS. It's called QB Sim, quarterback sim. Very different environment, of course, but again, a very active role. Relies on physical movement and learning that muscle memory we talked about before. These are professional quarterbacks, former quarterbacks from the NFL, walking through this training, learning the different play calls and the interactions they need to do. They're using a real ball. They're not using a controller. They're not using a presentation. Is that disappeared for everyone else?
Yeah, we're using slides at the moment. James, could you help out there?
Just try to reshare quickly. Just bear with me.
Okay. So I'm taking over from Lorelle van FOSSEN here, who's gone on to join the next panel. Tim, I'm really fascinated by what you're saying already. So exciting that this is part of the future for the industry. Just to let you know, as a result of some of the other speakers having similar technical issues, we're just going to bring the timing in a little bit. So if we can run with you for another, say, 5 minutes, assuming we get this live going, and then we'll have some nice questions. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great if I can.
Wonderful. Okay. In the meantime, everybody, you click F4. That's applause. Click F4 on your screen. So let's some applause. Can we hear some? Or you can, let's do a backwards flip just to keep the energy going. Let's have a look here.
All right.
If stage entertainment. There you go. Very good. Okay, some of the F function keys allow you to interact or show your emotions. So Tim, while we're waiting, do you want to keep talking, and we will try to, or are you actually working the slides out as you speak?
I'm just reloading it now. Hopefully this will come through. I have one more example to show everyone, and then we'll go to questions.
Okay, waiting for the presenter to start sharing. Wonderful. Fascinating how this technology has come so far, and yet at the same time, there's a few little bits of friction that when they get sorted, we're going to have very, very smooth, powerful tools in our hands. I mean, I'm loving Verbella and Laval Virtual here already, the platform. But if we can iron out those little kinks, we have something extremely powerful. Let us know when you're ready.
Crashing on me right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So the last example I have to show you is another partner of ours. It's again, like I said, I will share the video afterwards. It's brilliant. It's a project for Anglo American, STS 3D, and they did a tutorial, a training environment for how to locate explosives in the rock face, at the coal face, literally. And I think it's another great example of how you can use this technology.
We have audio. Okay.
I don't think we're going to get it back, but I will share the slides straight afterwards. But what they are doing is similar to the technology we've seen before. They are teaching people in real time, this time without a headset. They're using 3D projectors, but it's very much a virtual environment, a virtual coalface where they can teach operatives how to locate explosives correctly and safely, productivity and safety reasons, of course, to make sure that's done well. And it enables them not to put someone straight into a dangerous environment where they're learning how to use explosives in real life straight away. But of course, they can have that intermediate step where they can get hands-on experience in a way that feels real before they are being forced to do it for real, if you like. So we use motion tracking technology for that, for them how to do that. It's a brilliant project. I actually find it really inspiring, and it is one of those projects that really is really exciting to work with. Actually, it's a fantastic example. So I encourage everyone to check that out, and I will share that at the end.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That's a round of applause for Tim there. F4, remember, show your appreciation. Lovely. Tim, you might want to step just a little bit forward there because you're standing right inside Antonio and it looks a little bit strange. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to take a few questions. Stay with us, Tim, if you like. We're going to take some questions from the crowd, and then we're going to move on to our panel. So looking at the crowd here, let's have some questions for Tim. Anyone in the public chat? Hear it. Okay. Someone's typing. Sure, we'll have some questions about that. Okay. No questions at the moment. Let me ask you, what are you most excited about in the next 6 months, Tim, for your work in the industry? What are you most excited about?
I think actually what's really exciting is we're actually really starting to see projects popping up all over the place in different uses, different creative scenarios where people are really in different industries. And there's some that I would love to talk about. I'm not quite in a position to do so right now. But you'll be seeing much more of this coming. Big industries, big corporations are really investing in this type of technology, which is of course going to accelerate its development for everyone else, much in the way the gaming use case has as well.
Brilliant. It's great when people get creative with your work, isn't it?
Absolutely, and okay. You know, these are real scenarios like we've talked about with our examples where people are
fantastic.
safety risks, or you know, there's some reason that this is really going to enhance that experience for them.
Excellent. Another question from the crowd. Have you tried your system with AR headsets? This is from Ishan Azimi.
No, not yet. We are very much focused at the moment on the virtual environment, and there is some development work at early stages for this, but we are primarily around producing experiences in a closed environment, a virtual environment, and bringing that virtual to life. I think, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to move on because there's lots of questions. How scalable is this solution, Tim?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a really good question, and obviously, with any technology, is new technology is a concern. I think to answer that, I'd look to the LBE world. I mean, we're now seeing these centres for the entertainment aspects popping up around the world. Probably most major cities now in the US have at least one, if not more. And that speaks to the scalability of the solution. It obviously is more cost intensive than just a headset, of course. But for those group experiences where you really benefit from collaboration, or performing that physical task, I think this is a real elevation of what we've been able to do before.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Quickly, another question. This is likely going to be a big open question, but this is from Geraldine Periguet. Can you tell us more about how to deal with ethics when a serious game is too much? This could take a long time, I can tell, but maybe something nice and concise. You have ideas?
Yeah, I mean that's a really fascinating example, and again, I would look to the gaming industry for where there has been these types of debates. When it stops becoming like a game, there is definitely a concern it can become too real.
Right.
And I think there are.
It's amazing that we're talking about that. That's something
it is
too real, isn't it?
I mean, we've seen examples of participants, just walking up to each other and shaking hands, and they don't believe that there's someone actually there. It's
right.
They think it's a digital character, and they kind of jump apart in surprise because they're serious. And so, I mean, it's definitely a real concern. And I think the content producers in particular take that really responsibly. There's a lot of intense thought, and also these are ultimately simulations that are taking you out, ideally, of a dangerous situation, or out of a situation that would otherwise put you at risk. So while we need to manage those concerns, I think we also shouldn't lose sight of that benefit as well.
I agree, absolutely. Thank you. We're going to have one last question, Tim, and then we're going to move on to our panel. But before you run off, thank you so much. And the last question is from David Bozatarnik. Do you think the future will become more platform agnostic?
I hope so. I mean, certainly all new technologies start very much in verticals and become more standardized over time. And I think that's something we certainly struggle with all the different hardware that's out there. Just keeping up in this industry is a huge challenge. And it's something that I'm sure everyone is struggling with, and all the various elements they need to consider. But yes, I think we are already seeing examples of that, be it OpenVR or the headsets, sharing shared platforms, and I think that will continue.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Right, well, everybody, please show your appreciation for Tim MASSEY. That was a wonderful talk. Each one of the speakers has been fascinating. We had David Whelan from Engage. We had Tim MASSEY. Let me bring up the names here now. I'll bring up the names in a minute. But this track has been fascinating already. The education and training track is very, very healthy. Growth in this area, the innovation in this area is fascinating. For myself, as with education educators in VR. It's really healthy to see that because I think we'll be talking about this now in the panel. There are a number of bottlenecks, and I believe education to a degree is one of them. I'd like to, maybe with that, we'll bring up our speakers. I can see Julie Smithson over there to my right. Julie, do you want to come on up? Wonderful. Christophe Mallet, where are you, my friend? Please come up and join us on the stage as well. And I hope David Whelan is around as well, because he was here earlier. Were you with us, David? Yeah, there you are.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I'm here.
I like your blazer, David. Looking good.
Thanks very much. It's like a seance when you're calling out.
Hi, everyone.
It is, yeah. Lovely. Where are you, Julie? How are you doing? All right, you're sitting there?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
can hear you, yeah. Do you guys
Great.
feel more comfortable sitting, or do you guys feel more comfortable standing? I'll leave it absolutely up to you. I'm happy either way, whichever you want.
Up to you.
All right, well, we'll start with the sitting. What have we got as a background image? Gregory, have we got the speaker images behind us there, or the title image? Ooh, Christian. Christophe, nice move.
I always dreamt of doing that, doing a hip hop move in flip-flops on stage. So now that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our illustrious speakers here, and I'm going to start with Christophe Mallet from BODYSWAPS. Following a decade spent between digital strategy consulting and award-winning VR studio somewhere else, Paris-born Christophe co-founded BODYSWAPS with one mission: to unlock human potential in the workplace with the help of immersive technologies. Christophe is an international speaker and regular podcaster on VR and learning, and he has recently delivered talks for the International Labour Organization, the European Training Foundation, and the European Immersive Computing Summit. Welcome, Christophe. Let everybody know which one is you. There you go. You can see your name.
Thanks, Daniel.
Great to have you here. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Next, we're going to go to David Whelan from Engage, who we heard speak earlier about his Engage platform and conferences. David Whelan is CEO of Immersive Education Limited. Alongside his wife, Sandra Whelan, David co-founded the company in 2014 with the aim of bringing immersive technology to distance learning, transform how students learn globally. In March 2018, David and the team successfully listed VR Education Holdings on the London and Irish Stock Exchange. And in his former career, David was editor-in-chief of the Virtual Reality Reviewer and has 14 years of software development experience, with 7 of those years running his own web development studio. David has won many international awards for his work in virtual reality, including a Time Warner Future of Storytelling Award, Vision Award, and Viveport Award for his work on Apollo 11 VR and the Engage education platform. Welcome, David. Great to have you back. Thank you so much for coming. And then our third panelist here is Julie Smith, my good friend Julie. How are you, Julie? Okay?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Julie Smithson's personal mission is to inspire and educate people to think and act in a socially, economically, and environmentally responsible way. She is co-founder of the Metaverse, one of the world's leading XR consulting companies, and co-founder of XR Ignite, community hub and virtual accelerator for XR startups that connects startups, studios, and developers with corporate clients. Julie also leads the team at xrcollaboration.com, connecting the world through remote work and training. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Julie, for joining us. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. And I am very, very, where have I jumped to now? What happened? Sorry, I seem to have, there you go. Sorry, my vision just changed. I hit a button and suddenly I was looking at something else. So we're here today to discuss education training together, and I have a number of topics I want to discuss with you. And for the crowd, just to explain the 3 kind of threads I want to explore with you today. The elephant in the room that we couldn't really avoid is COVID-19. I have a couple of questions for you there. I fear it's getting over-talked, but at the same time, it's hard to over-talk it at the moment. So we'll be discussing that a little bit. Then I want to talk a little bit about the bottleneck, where the bottleneck is, what we can do about it for education and training. Finally, there's a concept about education and progression. What I mean by that is that a lot of students will become employees very soon, and if industry is requiring these skills of students, then it's on education really to step up to deliver that for our students around the world. So let's start then with the impact of COVID-19. I'm working and trying to teach from home at the moment. Current video conferencing and learning management systems, finding them really frustrating and limited to compared to what I know is possible with VR. So my first question, maybe we'll start with Julie. My first question is, are we actually right now witnessing the ultimate use case for VR in this current coronavirus situation? Is this the ultimate use case for VR?
I think it's one of the many, but certainly education has stepped up to the plate to be the most needed right now. There's so many opportunities for the VR and AR industry to introduce the potential and the capabilities and the possibilities, and it's really addressing the massive need of change that we need in our education systems. So, for everybody's knowledge, I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old. So I'm right in the thick of just seeing how the current education system that they left 5 weeks ago no longer fits anything that that the world is focused on today. So I think that education is really being put to the test, and it's making us revisit every single aspect of the way that we're teaching, the way that we're learning, the way that the outside world works, and essentially trying to match. Now we need to match the education with what enterprise needs, and there's just such a massive gap. But it's conferences like this and conversations and the technology that we have that are really going to pull everything together.
Right, interesting. I agree with you on many points. I have a young son who's 11, and he was putting up with education more than really enjoying it, and he's going to a fairly good progressive school. Seeing him just operate by himself now. I'm going to pose this question to Christophe Mallet as well. Do you think we are actually witnessing the ultimate use case of VR?
I don't know exactly about the ultimate use case, but clearly the market conditions are changing faster than what we were expecting because of the COVID. Right now, the time right now is that of crisis. So the response from learning providers in the corporate world are responses to crisis, which is which we don't know. What we don't know is what's going to happen in 18 months when we're really at the other end of the tunnel. But sure, if the cursor is going to land somewhere between the old world of 2019 and where we are right now. I think the market conditions are great for VR because of that, because companies will need a contingency plan. They will need to equip themselves faster with headsets to make them available to trainers and learners at home. But we should not underestimate the level of adoption where we are today. I mean, most people don't know how to mute themselves on Zoom. That's where we are, you know. and I think sending headsets to people's home is great, but it's going to take a bit of time. It's going to be reluctant. So we have a big opportunity, but it's really just a beginning, as opposed to an explosion that's going to come in the next few months.
Thank you very much, Christophe. Okay, David, what do you think? Is this a powerful use case for VR at the moment?
It's been an absolute transformative event that's happened over the past few months for this technology in XR. So many people are locked at home. So many kids are locked at home as well with no outlet, and they're all trying to get an education through Zoom. And all they're doing is watching video. They're not interested at all. They can't talk to their friends. They can't collaborate at all. Virtual reality allows that, especially with spatial audio. If you have 50 people in a room with you and you want to lean over and whisper to the person next to you, you can do that. You can't do that on any video-based platform. So there's a lot of people seriously looking at XR at the moment, and that's just on the communication level. And I think VR is one of the best communication tools in the world in an educational sense, because we do provide educational content through Engage. the actual retention levels of knowledge are far exceeding what you would get on a typical video. Really, you learn by doing, and that's something that you could do in VR as well. Now, it is obviously better if you can go to a physical location, but the next best thing is virtual reality. And one of the core things that we're trying to get across is we're trying to open up education to the masses, and we're trying to open up education where you can get access to the best educators in the world in a virtual environment. There's huge issues with current online solutions, like I said, like Zoom and text messaging. Like a lot of people don't finish any of these online courses, whereas in a virtual classroom with virtual people, you feel like you're there. You have a peer structure group, and I can see a future quite soon where you could do physics in virtual MIT in the morning, and then you could do English literature in Oxford University in the afternoon, all from the comfort of your own home at a fraction of the cost. Because one of the issues that in the old world, and I say old world because the world is not going to go back to the way it was before the coronavirus. I think people would be naive to think that's going to happen, because now that people are getting used to working at home, like, and they don't have to get on planes and travel thousands of miles just for an hour-long meeting and then travel back. People aren't going to go back to the way they were before and previously. And one of the core things that we were trying to address is, look, like, you're putting a couple of $100,000 expense on anybody, especially in America, that wants to have a 4-year education in university. That's crippling people. So we're trying to open that up, and XR is the perfect thing for that.
Very good point. Very, very good point. I mean, one of the first pushbacks when you talk about VR is investment. And actually, I know a number of ways in which you can turn VR into a cost savings. You know, if you look at it properly. So then, do you think that the frustration with the limitations of Zoom and Google Hangouts and video conferencing, do you think the frustration with that is going to turn into a benefit for VR, Julie? Do you think people are looking for better solutions and they're going to find VR, or are they just going to try and give up with technology altogether?
No, I think they'll get there. I think this whole pandemic has introduced everybody to Zoom. You know, the corporate world was starting to use it, but you know, just today I was walking and saw a family on the street, and they were so excited. They tried Zoom for the first time last night. And it's really good to kind of talk to people about where they're at in this technology, especially from my perspective, your perspective, where, you know, we're immersed in this all day. So, you know, finding out where the baseline is of where the communities are, you know, they will want more. Just to answer your question, they'll start to want more. They're going to want to start to see more eye contact. They're going to want to be able to hear each other in a spatial presence, right? And I think that's where the features of these collaboration platforms will start to make a play of how to introduce certain things, like creating an avatar. You can't do that in Zoom yet, but you could today. You know, everybody could create who they wanted to be. And I think the individualization and the personalization of these platforms will immerse the user further and further and introduce that acceptance of different technologies.
Right. I've been having a couple of conversations about this idea of threshold technology. So in my perfect world, we have VR, all singing and dancing. People have devices and equipment there. That's kind of the end goal in my mind. But we're at the age of Zoom, and we need to get from Zoom across the threshold into VR. And for me, the platform like this, Laval Virtual on Verbella, is actually really powerful threshold technology. It means it allows people without headsets to step towards the virtual world, start to get an idea of what it looks like having an avatar, even if you don't embody it. And that can open the door to their interest. If they see other people interacting like fully immersively, that will whet their appetite. They'll have, it's like a step towards. So I'm really excited about this platform. AltSpace can be used in 2D, and I know Engage can be used in 2D. Having that 2D access, I think, is really, really important, whilst headsets aren't quite as ubiquitous as we would like, and maybe they aren't available. People are still resistant. Question for Chris. Thank you for that. Question for Chris. Coronavirus has changed the world of business, we all agree, and education, as we've just said, and communication, collaboration. What impacts are you seeing right now in the change of tone in and around XR and educational training? How's the dialogue shift going, Christophe?
Yeah, I think I want to continue on what Julie said and
okay.
Maybe add a little bit of a pinch of salt.
Okay.
And be a little bit mindful, not only to paint the prettiest picture and the most optimistic picture. I've been talking in the past few weeks with a lot of learning providers, trying to understand really their world. And the impulse response to the crisis was lay off your consultants, hire them back as freelance, turn them into PowerPoint monkeys, to change or turn the scripts that you would have face-to-face into PowerPoint and deliver that on Zoom. Now, everyone knows there's Zoom fatigue. Everyone knows engagements are lower, and those learning providers know that they won't be able to justify their value to their clients if all they can do is Zoom plus PowerPoint. So that's good for us, right? But on the other end, for a 50-year-old middle manager at a large Fortune 500 company, wearing a headset wearing a headset is already a big ask, but wearing a headset for a long time to have an entire conference or meeting, it's just not going to happen. And I think when you talk to learning providers, it's very important to understand where VR fits. I don't think VR is going to replace face-to-face. It's not going to replace e-learning or virtual classroom, and by that I mean Zoom. I think it has to find its place, and the place of VR is where no one else can go.
Right.
And it's very important, to be frankly, if I had a meeting, I had a request meeting for virtual worlds, and we did it on Zoom because it was better for me. It was a better medium to do what I had to do. And I think we need to not try and do everything with VR, but really focus on what VR is unique.
Yeah, I agree. That's my point about the 2D access. So for me, a requirement for a platform is that I can either be in my headset, but I can take my headset off, switch, and be straight in 2D, so that I can choose those moments I want to be immersed, and the rest of the time I can have virtual access in 2D. David, do you have anything to add to the idea that there are limits to VR education?
So there is no limit. You're only limited by your imagination. And as a replacement for Zoom, I do believe that virtual worlds will take over from where Zoom is today, especially like we have, we're all working from home at the moment. I have 40 staff and we're all at different locations. All our daily stand-ups are in VR, but not everybody is wearing a headset. There are some people are using the desktop mode, and we also have a mobile phone version as well, but we still class it as VR. So I'm on a desktop right now. I'm not in a VR headset, but it's still a virtual environment. But we can do things easier in these environments than on a Zoom call. So if you are in full VR gear and you want to do a collaboration meeting and you want to do, say, a whiteboard session and a Kanban board, it's a lot easier to do it in virtual reality than it is on a flat screen on video-based platforms. Because you can just physically stand up and draw on the whiteboard. You can pick up the sticky note and stick it where you want. It's very quick and easy. A lot of people fumble, even these C-level executives. They fumble when they're using their keyboard and mouse, and they go, "Oh, what button is it to do such and such?" Whereas you don't have that in VR. You can just use your hand, and it's very natural and intuitive to do that. So I do believe VR and virtual experiences are actually a big step up from the video-based platforms. Like I've been having video-based conference calls the past 15-20 years. It hasn't changed. It's a phone call with some pictures, and there's some
now
text
we're
messages and
switching the video off kind of now. now sometimes I just want the voice.
But I think it was right when Chris was saying that, look, VR really where it shines is where you can do stuff in VR that you can't do on video-based platforms. So I know the educators in VR had an event on the surface of Mars. You can do digital training as well. You can actually spatially record stuff at a fraction of the bandwidth. So one of the things that VR gets right in a lot of ways is the bandwidth requirements. So you can run a virtual meeting with very low bandwidth because you're not transmitting video, you're just transmitting voice data, and all the graphics are actually rendered on the processor. And I think I said in my previous talk that an hour-long piece of content on Engage is 80 megabytes. An hour-long piece of content recorded on Skype or Zoom, that's about 2 gigabytes, a gig to 2 gigabytes to get any type of quality. And the great thing about recorded content in a VR spatial recording is you can move around in that recording and you can record all the participants as well. So it's a very, it's a unique thing to that platform, but Zoom and Skype, don't get me wrong, are fantastic for communications between maybe 5 or 6 people. Any more than that, and you're going to need a virtual location like this conference today. If we were doing this on Zoom, you'd have 150 small little windows. If somebody wants to ask a question, very hard to collaborate. With spatial audio, we can do that quite easily.
That's true. Thank you very much for that insight. Julie, I want to ask you, do you think that if the devices become more comfortable and maybe AR and VR integrate, so you have one headset that can immerse you or can overlay AR, then we might have a better chance of mass adoption and conferencing would shift from mostly Zoom to those devices? Do you think that would help us?
I think so. You know, dealing with Zoom and overhearing even my daughter yesterday, already the school system that she's a part of have moved the kids to an actual chat call with the entire class. So it was nice. I said to her, I said, you know, how was getting together with your class today? And she had some certain feedback, and it's always interesting hearing from the kids how things are transforming, because that's where I learn the most is from them. I think that we need to see, first of all, what technology do we have available now? And that always comes back to the devices that we all have in our hand, where augmented reality can be played out right before our very eyes. And I think I did a talk a while ago on how important augmented reality was going to play in the K-12 school systems, because it's something everybody, and you can't tell me that kids don't have their own devices anymore. So, you know, being able to introduce augmented reality into the education system first, because the devices are there. We don't have to worry as much about hygiene because of the masks or the headsets, but it will move into the headsets, and even as they improve, you know, and they do need to improve for us to endure longer periods of time. I also think that there's going to be commercial uses of mixed reality, you know, that'll be coming out soon, which, you know, I often wonder how much will we move, or how fast will we move from augmented reality to mixed reality, and you know, virtual reality will stick with certain immersive experiences that, you know, you need to be enveloped 360 degrees into a space. So it'll be really interesting, but I think augmented reality is the that's the kickoff. Everybody should be looking for resources where augmented reality starts to engage with the digital layer in between our worlds, and that's that next baby step into this immersive technology, and then eventually it'll get into virtual reality, you know, as a, you know, more in the systems, but that's kind of the stepping stone I see.
Okay, good stepping stones. We have a bit of a roadmap, a long journey ahead still, but amazing how far we've come still. Amazing how far we've come. I want to pick up on the idea of what devices are available a little bit. I have a friend, Doug Whelan from Nokia, and I had a conversation with him a couple of weeks ago. He's doing some really, really interesting research on the topic of 1 billion devices. And I just want to read you a couple of, very quickly, to put into context my point I'm trying to make. So he's been studying this concept of 1 billion. You know, at what point did we reach 1 billion humans? Apparently that was in 1802. The point at which we reached 1 billion cell phone users was 2002. The point at which we reached 1 billion internet users, 2005. A billion global internet device installed base, 2007. A billion installed PC, 2008. 1 billion vehicles, which surprised me, 2010. A billion smartphone users, 2011. And then in 2017, this might surprise you, we already had 1 billion Edge IA devices available on the planet. That's kind of the billion numbers we've reached up to now, and he's been extrapolating on this research and looking at the figures. And according to his best calculations, thinks that in 2023 we'll have 1 billion 5G users. About that, and his estimates show or project that by 2027 we may have 1 billion VR users, and 2033 1 billion smart robots. Now, that's quite controversial, and a lot of people will have a lot of opinions about that. I'm not going to express my opinion whether I think it's true or not. The point I'm trying to make is that if you go back far enough, and I had said we would have 1 billion smartphones at some point, a lot of people would say, nah, never going to happen, and certainly not in 5 years. I think we may well reach 1 billion VR devices or mixed reality devices or whether that takes 7 or 37 years. But let's just assume that we all agree we want to get there, or that would be a desirable situation. What are the steps that will help us get there in relation to education and training? Christophe, I hope that question makes sense.
The question makes perfect sense. I'm not sure that the number does. It seems very, very ambitious. It's and also we need to focus on it either. Nor do we need to focus on the headsets. It's at the end of the day, it's all about value that people find in there. And I think David's point was real. The education market is famously reluctant to technological adoption. The way classrooms are led hasn't really changed since our great-great-great-grandparents. To be honest, one teacher, several students in the same physical location for a finite duration. And I think we're still quite far off the Ready Player One type vision. So I guess the steps is to really understand what the value chain is here. It's hardware, software, and service. Right. From the hardware perspective, yes, we can make it cheaper, faster, bring AR to make it less weird, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Then you have the software, and that's our role, the three of us here, and we're quite confident that we're bringing value, but there's already a link between hardware and software that's not working really well, and the relationship between developers and Facebook, for example, are not that great because there's a lack of understanding of what the market needs, infrastructure, legal requirements, also a lack of understanding of the user. How do you deal with a trainer or a teacher versus a student? Various age categories, various education categories. And the last one is someone's crashing the stage. And the last one is about service. And really, you need to put headsets on a lot of people's heads before there is adoption. That requires a lot of internal champions at dozens of companies to help out. So I think it's still a long way, and collaboration across those three elements of the value chain, hardware, software, and service is the only way forward.
Very good point. I want to pick up on something you said, that the education technology hadn't changed considerably for a very long time. And yet the students and the employees we have now, their relationship with technology has changed a lot. So I want to ask David, do you think then, if education isn't catering to where our students are at, and thereby not developing the employees that the workforce needs, is it on education to change? Does the whole educational model need to change? And I want to ask Julie about that later, because I know you have a lot to say about that as well, Julie. But to David, please.
Yeah, I believe the education system in many parts of the world is completely broken. Rich people get good education, poor people get nothing. I truly believe that there is people alive today in the world who are every bit as brainy as Einstein, and they're flipping burgers in Burger King because they've never had the opportunity. And they're not going to get the opportunity the way education is set up today. So if you're living in America and you're from a poor neighborhood, your education and your teachers are paid from the taxes from that poor neighborhood, which is going to be very, very small. If you're in a really well-off neighborhood and your parents are rich, you get to go to Harvard, you get to go to MIT. That's an unfair world for anybody. So what we're trying to do with Engage really is virtual universities and colleges at a fraction of the cost, where we don't have to really say anything about the technology or the headsets. We just need to prove that we can make your kids smarter inside using these experiences. And if you can prove that, the technology will get to 1 billion users eventually. If we look back in history, the Nintendo DS handheld device, that was the best-selling console in the world. And one of the key reasons why that was the best-selling console in the world, it wasn't because of Mario. It was because of a game called Brain Training, where all the parents believed that if they got brain training for their kids on the Nintendo DS, it would make little Johnny smarter. And the things were flying off the shelves for at least 2 years. And kind of a similar thing with the Wii. So when the Wii came out, the Nintendo Wii, again, it was great that it had Mario, but one of the things that really propelled that device was Wii Fit. And again, you couldn't get a Wii for love nor money for many, many months, and they were selling for huge amounts of money. Now, VR needs that application. The closest to that currently is Beat Saber, and Beat Saber is hugely successful. But if we have an application in VR for education that can prove, say, okay, little Johnny is going to get 20 or 25% better marks in his maths because he's doing training in VR, that's when we'll start seeing mass adoption in educational settings. A lot of people bought into the iPad for education and saying these iPads are going to make your kids smarter. And thousands of schools around the world got iPads. And really what happened is the educators went back to what they know best. A lot of educators, not all, but many, they just, okay, we're going to put our textbooks on the iPad, and we're going to put videos on the iPads. That was really no benefit at all. But then you see some really fantastic companies coming out like Eon Reality, making AR apps and applications where kids are involved and they're creating content together. And actually, this is one of the reasons why Microsoft bought Minecraft, is because you can build educational content using Minecraft, and that's why it's been rolled out in many, many schools. So really, it's not the technology and not the fact that it's in a headset. It's the fact that, okay, we can prove that this has a real benefit for society, and that's when you see the adoption of technology.
Great point. I'm going to copyright Brain Gain VR. Anybody want to work on Brain Gain VR with me? I love that point. Excellent. Okay, Julie, I want to bring that to you. Do you think that, I know you're quite passionate about this subject, do you think that education system itself is maybe the bottleneck?
That's a loaded question, Daniel. I hope you can hear me okay. My microphone has been coming in and out with quality, so I hope you can hear me. Let me know if you don't hear me okay. So I think education systems, again, after seeing how my kids are, and you don't want to trash any education system. They've been doing what they've always done, and it's served us until this point. But I do feel like my kids are in a box right now, and they seeing what is possible for them, and what is out there. So I think that education systems have a lot of work to do. I think the teachers need to revisit how they teach. And I think that's a big thing right now, is how do we support these teachers and have them transform and become mentors and meet the demands that the kids now need. We've had a couple of conversations this week on how my daughter needs to know an answer from the teacher, but doesn't get it fast enough, so just Googles it. And skips that step of that teacher. And it's not that the teacher isn't important, it's just they're still trying to spread their wings in this technology and address 20 other kids in the class. But my kid passed that, I don't need that teacher anymore. I can Google it, or my friend and I can go online and we can figure it out together. They're solving things on their own now. So order for the education systems, and I'm not saying that they're not relevant, but to stay relevant and to be a presence in raising these children and using the knowledge of these teachers to help mentor the kids into exploration, the role of the education system really needs to take a visit on how they're dealing with each of these kids, because I can tell you one thing, my kid is not going to be happy going back into the square box of a classroom again, surrounded by kids who, you know, in her situation, she has a lot of disruptive kids and she doesn't get anything done, and she comes home very frustrated because she doesn't get to do work. Whereas she wakes up in the morning, she's on the computer, she's doing projects, she's working on Google Slides with her friends, they're researching projects, and I can see the happiness in doing that work. And that's what we've missed, you know, for a long time, is having kids love to learn. And this is transforming even my kid in loving to learn just by being able to explore on their own. And I think education systems really need to figure out how, you know, how to let the kids explore more, always with first security in mind, but at the same time, we're all living the same world together, and we need to engage these kids into our ecosystem sooner than later. And I know that's something, you know, I'll pass back to you, because I know that's something we also wanted to talk about, was, you know, how systems are keeping up with the changes in enterprise. So, I'll pass it back to you, Daniel. Just
thank you for
we could
that,
talk
Julie.
forever.
Yeah, I know. Great segue there. Thank you, Julie. That is actually the next point I wanted to bring up. So one of the themes I wanted to bring to this panel, which often when you go to conferences in this space, you have the education and training track. In my experience, many speakers or companies are either in the training camp or the education camp. I know, David Whelan, maybe you're a little bit in both. But I see a really strong connection between both of them. So you can talk about enterprise where they're doing like on-job training or floor shop support and stuff like that. But if the industry is charging ahead, you know, we looked at the investment figures in this space in corporate agri, and the return on investment and cost saving and carbon dioxide saving, not to mention that. If that's where the industry is going, surely it's in our best interest to make sure that we help the education system however we can to prepare and train our students for that workplace. And this kind of artificial divide that maybe it's just me that feels that between training and education is separate things. For me, it's a spectrum, a whole divide. Maybe I can ask David Whelan about that. Do you think that maybe even that we've got a visitor on stage there, sorry. Maybe even that corporate and enterprise should be supporting and helping education in order to get the workforce they need later on. What do you think, David?
Yeah, it's two sides of the same coin. Like, just because we're no longer teenagers doesn't mean that we're not learning. You're always learning. If you're not learning, like, you're not achieving in life. And when you go into a new job or new organization, you're still needing to learn different skills, how to communicate with people. And actually, this is one of the key things that we need to be teaching our kids as well, is how to communicate in social settings. Quite a lot of social platforms are very closed off, and they're sending messages to each other, and we get people straight in from college working with us, and very often their communication skills, intercommunication skills within the organization is very poor, because they've never had anybody criticize their work, not criticize, but, you know, maybe comment on some of their work, and they get very uptight about that. And I really see social media platforms really had a big part to play in that. And also as well, self-esteem is a massive thing with kids coming in from school, where they could have been bullied online. You know, they look at all these images online of these supermodels having a fantastic life, and their self-esteem is through the floor. So when we get people into our organization, you have to train them up and get them to be confident, get them to be confident at their job, get them to be confident with the training professionals that we deal with day to day, you know, so they have that level of confidence that they are the expert in the field. I believe that organizations should help education. Yes, of course I do. I would love to see more organizations, especially technical organizations, coming into schools, sponsoring equipment that this is the type of equipment that kids are going to be using in 4 or 5 years' time when they get out to have a job. Because you go into many schools today, there's computers there that might be 10 years old running Windows 97, and then when they come out of the school and are asked to run on the latest development software, it just simply doesn't work for them. Really, we don't want to, as well, we have to be very mindful that don't want to train employees straight out of school as well. We don't want to really pigeonhole kids and go, this is exactly how things are supposed to run. The biggest thing that we normally teach kids, and I think it's a really, really poor thing, is that often when kids go into schools, their imagination gets wiped from them. So when kids, before they go to school, great imaginations, you get many, many drawings from the kids. They can think about anything and really great storytellers. After 15 years in school, that imagination is gone, and we really need to assess why that happens. And then when they go into organizations and training organizations, it's like they become a clone and they just follow what the higher ups have said. And the higher ups themselves, they might have really great qualifications on paper, but really they're just following a script. And we don't want people to follow a script, especially in VR education. In my organization, we look for people not that have great qualifications, and we have some of those as well, but we need people that are really lateral thinkers who can think of different ways to solve different issues. And that's really what we need to be training our kids as well as people in the corporate world.
Right. Okay. I want to pass that question on to Christophe Mallet as well. The connection between education VR and training VR.
Yeah, there's something that David just said that's very, very true. It's about soft skills. I mean, I did a management school, or so it's called, and there's one thing I didn't learn there, it's management. I didn't learn anything about people. I think the separation between education and training maybe makes sense from an institutional perspective. There are different buildings, so to speak. From a learner's perspective, they don't anymore. Because the old model of, I learn until I'm 20 something, then I work for 40 odd years, then I retire, that's gone. Lifelong learning is an imperative, just as David said. And on top of that, the half-life of a skill, a technical skill, has been reduced greatly. Before, you became whatever taxi driver, you were doing that for your life. Now you're learning a new language, a new software language within 5 years, it's obsolete. And so soft skills or behavior, however you want to call it, is technical skills get you the job interview. Soft skills get you the job. And I think there's an interesting example here in the UK with further education colleges. We're working with further education colleges, which are historically focused on technical skills as a way to get employability to kids. But now they're realizing that employability is also has to do with soft skills. And so so they're starting to slightly focus on that. And one of the most recent further education initiative that has opened is sponsored by Nissan. So you get immediately here how Nissan has realized that the kids who come out of those schools, they know how to do their job, they know how to communicate with their teams, and therefore we end up having to train them on those soft skills. So we might as well sponsor further education colleges so this happens earlier. So that's precisely, I think, an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Christophe. We could keep going for quite a while on this topic as well. I'm aware a little bit of the time, and there's quite a few people here who want to ask questions. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions now. Can I just check with the moderators? Are we able to give the people who want to ask questions the mic? And if so, I'm just looking, do I need to know their names?
Yes.
If I can click on that. So we've got 2 people in the front row who want to ask a question. Mohammed Samir, I'm just going to have a look if I can get your microphone clear. Mohammed Samir, 1 second. Close mic. Can I open your mic? Set mic sensitivity.
It can directly.
Close your mic. She want to mute. No, okay.
Daniel?
Cancel. So Mohammed Samir, if you're able to open your mic, can you let us know that you can hear me?
Yes, my mic is open now.
Excellent. Yeah. Can you ask your question to the panel, please? And tell us who the question is for.
Right. Thanks for the opportunity to ask a question. Just for anyone in the panelists, anyone who can answer the question. I work in education for over 10 years now, and I certainly agree with the notion that the educational model is really broke, not about in terms of inequality, but in terms of the quality of education itself. Very simple example. A few years ago, one of the students just writing the exam paper, well, Google it. And I said, wow, okay, that's really how it is, because the current education system, it prepares students just to sit an exam and start reciting things and reproduce things, and then the next day they forget about what they already learned in the exam. So this really misses out the notion of personalized learning, and I think one of the speakers talked about the here and now of knowing an answer to a particular question. So students really need to know about the need to learn now. So I definitely in favor in terms of the brain gain VR. So my question is really that at the moment we have an outdated model of education, I think, across the board. So my question to the panel really, has we reached a tipping point now for educations to survive? They must change their ways to offer all this personalized learning, brain gain VR, and make sure that the training or the learning remains relevant to the workplace. And also this touches on in terms of lifelong learning, because at the end of the day, I mean, if anyone does a 4-year degree, I bet anyone would remember how much of what they have learned. Okay, maybe they remember, the basics, but as the notion of lifelong learning, so we need to have learning at the point of use. So when I need something, I need to be able to get it. So that's my question and some comments. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I didn't quite pick the question out of that, but does anyone want to respond?
Well, the question was basically, did we reach a tipping point in terms of education?
Right.
That they have to, to be able, all the issues I mentioned in terms of personalized learning and learning that is relevant
reached
to the
the tipping
workplace, and also making use of VR in terms of brain gain VR.
Okay, all right. Who would like to answer that? I'll let you guys. Anyone have a response to that?
Sure, I can answer, Daniel. I think absolutely it's a tipping point, and it's where there's things like this happening, with COVID, there's opportunities, and this is a great opportunity to take a look at our system and how we can change it. I think it comes back to how kids are learning, and right to what Mohammed said about how, kids can Google anything these days, and it's not about, discovering answers in that respect. They need to solve problems. So I think instead of asking kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? How about, what problem do you want to solve today? And I think that's the mindset that needs to change. It's something that we're all discovering how to even do our jobs differently, because we can source the answers faster. We can create efficiencies in our days and the things that we're doing. And kids are finding the same thing. So the education system needs to adapt that way. And also just a quick statement about how corporations and education, I've always said, enterprise should be the standard for education. And I think it's really the opportunity to have corporate responsibility take place in sponsoring education systems to, I want to use the word breed, but to foster the new talent and help guide the education systems to new skill sets and new demands within the workplace to build out different types of teams. You and I had a conversation, Daniel, the other day just on, building an event now is a completely different thing. An online conference, just like the one we're all in today, that takes a whole team of people, but it's not the audiovisual team that you had at a hotel. This is an audiovisual team that runs on a virtual, on virtual platforms, and behind the scenes, there's chat rooms going on to make sure that everybody's taken care of and the next speakers. So, everybody has to rewire their thinking, and this is the time where education needs to be rewired.
Very, very good point. Julie, you just said something there, that education really should be the something for education. The standard.
Enterprise should be the standard for education. Why is it any different?
I like that, but I would like to add that the third sector should also be a standard. So voluntary organizations, social issues. So the other organizations where the other work that gets done that maybe enterprises can't make profit from or something like that. That should be another standard. But I agree with you. That's an interesting one. I'm going to take a question now from the public chat. Let me see. There's quite a few, so let me dig around here. Let me see. I'll have to scroll up for some of the questions. Okay, question from Jorge Baca. What are the main limitations for the adoption of XR technologies in education? Do we need more research, cheaper devices, content creation? We had a bit of a discussion about that earlier in the panel, but maybe I'll hand that to Chris. You want to say a couple of words? I'll ask the question again.
Yeah.
What are the main limitations to adoption?
I think cost is one, but it's a little bit of an illusion. Like you always have to compare cost with value. The cost of a headset, if you pay £500 to do an hour every other week, it's a very expensive tool. If you spend several hours every week to use it, or if you share a headset amongst an entire classroom, it becomes a very, very cheap tool. So I'm not too worried about cost. There's an element of the hardware. We talked about AR. There's still a weirdness about being cut off from reality, and that I think comes down to us fundamentally being animals who were not always at the top of the food chain. We just don't like to be deprived of a sense of reality, and I think we shouldn't underestimate the psychological intensity of VR. VR is exhausting. It's exhausting to be in there, and that's why we have to use it carefully in terms of how much we ask from people. And the last barrier is just your traditional reluctance to change and innovation. There is always inertia in the way things are done. There are people who are afraid of losing their jobs to technologies. I don't know how many trainers I've talked to who were afraid I was proposing a solution that would effectively put them out of jobs. And I think it's very important to position in education and training VR as a tool for collaborative intelligence, which is the human being can do stuff the machine can't do, and vice versa. And working together, they can offer new value to the students.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. Okay. Let me see. There's so many more questions. Anyone in the audience? Yes, we've got someone. I'm just going to have to see whose hand that is. I think that's... can't see your name properly there, my friend. With the XR call. Is that...
Luis Vargas.
Is it Vargas? Yes, Luis Vargas. Thank you. I now can see the name. Luis Vargas, you have a question? You need to switch your microphone on. Luis Vargas? Yeah. Well, maybe while we're waiting for Luis to ask his question, Magnus R. Poulsen, what's your question, please?
Yes, hello. I already put it in
Magnus?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can see you're trying to speak, but I can't hear you. Can you guys hear him?
Yep, I can hear him.
All right, David, you want to answer that question then? Sorry, ask your question again, Magnus.
Yes, sure. Thank you. I posted in the chat box about I'm writing currently a report about why XR technology can do wonders for education. And I'm already having some theories and terms, but I would like to hear if you have some others. Currently, I'm writing about muscle memory, STEAM lessons.
Okay, Dave, when he's ready, will you repeat the question?
Yeah, no, yeah. So the question is, what benefits has XR technology in education? So currently he's writing a book about muscle memory, how VR can be used for muscle memory and the likes. So we actually have some experience in this. And it kind of marries in with some of the other questions that were asked as well, like what are the real benefits for using XR technology in education? So really the collaborative tasks, and one of the tasks that we have on the Engage platform is we held a mini class. So the way VR works is it makes real connections. So if you're teaching languages, as an example, when you're a baby in the real world, your parents would hand you a cup, and then you would pick up that cup and you would look at the cup, and then your parent would say, that's a cup. And in your head, it's making a connection in your brain that says, this is a cup, and you're looking at it. Now, when you're learning languages online today, you're looking at a photograph of a cup, and you're trying to make a connection in your brain that that photograph of a cup is a different word in a different language. And it's not a very natural way of communicating. Now, inside the Engage platform for language learning, we are currently building, it's a language game where you're working in a kitchen, okay? And in this kitchen, there's a Japanese chef in the kitchen, and he's ordering you in Japanese to get items, different items here and there. And very quickly, if you don't get those items for the Japanese chef, he gets very grumpy. It's called Grumpy Chef. And this is how people learn in real life. This is why students travel to different parts of the world. They work in bars, they work in restaurants, and that's how they pick up the language very, very quickly, where it's a lot harder to learn a language when you're just reading lots of words and watching video. It's more natural when you're communicating with people, and that's something you can do in VR very easily, which is, it's kind of harder to do in more traditional methods. So you're making those natural connections. Also, as well, the collaborative tasks in VR are fantastic. So you could say, you know, the kids need to learn them by themselves, because obviously they can Google answers, but they're not really learning anything that way. But if you give them a collaborative task with a team, and one of the collaborative tasks that we had within Engage is that we gave two sets of kids a building application where they had to build a bridge and meet in the middle. So they had to collaborate and build that bridge using techniques and using systems that they would have learned in traditional education. And by building that bridge and getting it working, that's how they learned. And that's some of the stuff that you can do in VR that's very difficult to do in traditional methods. So I hope that answered the question in a roundabout way.
Thank you very much, and thank you for repeating the question as well. I wasn't able to hear it for some reason. I'm going to take one more question from the chat, if anyone wants to post the last question there, and then I'm going to ask you just for some closing remarks. I'll come to that in a moment. But here's one from Alexis Olivari. It's about risks. Are there any risks for children to spend too much time in VR? Maybe depending on their age. That's a question that gets asked a lot. Julie, do you want to say anything about that?
Sure. Yeah, we all get asked that from the industry. You know, is it too much? But I think, you know, in reversing that question entirely, it's about how you use the technology in the classroom. And really, VR right now is the assistant tool to the mentor, to the student, to explore the different possibilities of what's out there. Is it bad for anybody to be in there for a long time? Well, you know, we were told not to sit that close to the television once upon a time ago, and you know, being in VR for a long period of time, I don't think is good for anybody really. So yeah, in small incremental bits, I think that's how schools should take it, but use and think about virtual reality and, you know, augmented reality. Obviously, you're not putting anything on your head, so you don't have to worry about that, but VR should be used in small incremental experiences so that the students can learn something together, and then you take it off, and then you start a discussion about, you know, what you just saw, and explore, you know, what you're solving or what you're building together. It's really it's a tool to kick off further creation, development, and exploration. So you have to think about it like that, and not in a, we're never going to put kids in VR for hours and hours at a time. That's never the intention of anybody in the industry.
You can't get out until you've done your homework.
Exactly.
Great.
And I would just like to add to that as well. Like, people are always afraid of new technology. When the TV came out, people were afraid of the TV, saying it was giving these ungodly images inside your home. When the internet came out, people were saying, "Oh my God, it's just full of pedophiles." When people are always afraid of new technologies, people are even saying today, "Oh, 5G is causing coronavirus around the world." Like this, people are always afraid of technology, but technology will then become commonplace. It will become more adapted. Technology can be used for good. It can be used for bad. If used sparingly, it can be used for really, really good and really good benefits for kids around the world.
Good point, and good notes to end on in terms of the questions. I'm sure there are probably a lot more questions to follow, and maybe Julie, Chris, and David, if you want to join the text chat afterwards and pick up on some of those questions, feel free to do that. But just for us to close this panel off a little bit, a question for each of you in turn. What is what is your greatest hope for this technology in education? Just maybe 1 or 2 sentences, just short and snappy. And I'll start with David and then come Chris and then Julie. What's your greatest hope of this?
My greatest hope is, look, it does help the next generation to really fix the issues that the last generation have caused to this world. We've had our chance. I'm 40 years old. Like climate change is a massive issue. You know, there's wars going on all the time. Thankfully, the internet has connected more people, and people in countries that are war-torn can actually see really the benefits of a peaceful society. Like, I really want to get to the Star Trek society where people are worth what they can contribute to society, not by the amount of money that they have in their bank account. And VR technology, I feel, is just another way of connecting people together in a more intimate way than just sending video and text to people. And that's really where I see the benefit of this technology.
Lovely. Thank you, David. Chris, what's your greatest hope for this technology with regards to education and training?
I can't really top that up because that was beautiful. So pretty much around the same line. I think it's about unlocking human potential. We have a technology that can not democratize old school education, but democratize a way for people to really show their talent and their skills, as David said, regardless maybe of their starting situation, so to speak. So we're far away from that democratization, but if we reach the billion devices that you talked about, then it's truly going to change the world, because we're going to see creative, responsible forces emerge organically from everywhere, and that could be very interesting.
So to level the playing field, that's lovely. Great sentiment. And finally, Julie, what's your greatest hope with this technology?
Sure. So echoing my co-panelists here, David and Chris, the technology itself lends itself in so many ways, and being collaborative and being able to come together in a time where, the world is isolated. This makes things feel so much better just mentally right away, as being in a room of, I see there's about 49 people left in this room, but how amazing is it that we all were in the same room together? And extending that into classrooms where kids can learn together and have the potential of this technology to show beyond the walls of what a classroom would look like. So I see the collaboration piece, unbound potential for both industry, for education, the potential for every single student to have their own individualized learning plan, and for teachers to come together and be those mentors for the students, as transferring the knowledge and helping each other. I think that's the collaborative, helping each other through this time where, again, we're all starting at level 0, baseline knowledge of this new world of remote work and learning. And this technology just, it brings people together, and looking forward to seeing the good that happens out of everything.
What a wonderful note to end on. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And that leaves me with the sad task of, the pleasant task of, first of all, I want to thank the panelists. Julie, thank you for your insights and thoughts on this topic. Chris MAI as well. Nice to meet you, my friend Chris. I hope we stay in touch. And David, thanks for the shout outs for Educators in VR earlier as well. And great to have you here on the panel. Thank you. I also want to thank the moderators who've been in the background helping us out with any kind of audio and visual issues and challenges. I would like to thank Laval Virtual for putting on this event and the panel. And Verbella, I have to say I like Verbella. I'm missing a bit of VR here, but in terms of a platform to bring us together, in terms of getting closer, it's really quite powerful. So thank you, Gregory. Thank you, Ophélie. Thank you, James. Thank you, panelists. And like I said, if you guys want to jump
and thank you, Daniel. Thanks,
thank you
Daniel.
very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Daniel for moderating. And I think on behalf of all of us, we'd love to see how you did your backflip before, because nobody could figure that out. So can you finish us off with a session with a backflip?
Absolutely. In the chat, you type /flip and then enter. Boom.
That's
Fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah, great stuff, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.